across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Some very sad news to start the evening exchange this evening, and that is that Dolly Parton, the country singer, has died. She was a living legend. She died at 80. She was born in Tennessee and achieved worldwide fame for her music and her tongue-in-cheek approach. She often said at the start of her amazing concerts, it costs a lot to look this cheap. Her music included 9 to 5, it included I Will Always Love You, it included many country and bluegrass, gospel and rock songs as well. She was someone who inspired so many people to, she had Dollywood, she had various accolades as well, 11 Grammy Awards, 3 Emmy Awards, as well as nominations for 2 Academy Awards, including a humanitarian honorary Oscar win in 2025, 6 Golden Globe Awards and a Tony Award. We'll be reflecting on Dolly's life. We've just sadly got that news, and we will be speaking to guests who knew her and knew her music, certainly, throughout the show. So lots to discuss on all of that. And please, I know there are many country fans who are people who watch and listen to this programme, and if you want to pay tribute to Dolly Parton, please do so by giving me a ring on 0344 499 1000. Our main story on the evening exchange is that shocking and brilliant documentary by Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan about what on earth is actually happening in the Channel. Christian managed to get on a boat, come across the Channel, and has exposed so many failings in the system. We'll be speaking to Isabel in a second about all of that, and if you've missed any of it, we'll bring you the highlights and the scandalous revelations. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call to give your thoughts on this. We'll go to the debate desk as well. We'll also, throughout the programme, be talking about a number of other issues, including the radicalisation of Muslims of people to, and the conversion to Islam of white and Christian people in prison. A much higher level of white people in prison are Muslim than is the case in the general population. So loads to discuss in the evening exchange, including that very sad news that the country music star Dolly Parton has died aged 80. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. You can text me at 72222 with the word talk in your text. You can tweet me at talkTV, follow me at Peter Cardwell. You can send me a voice note, you can send me a WhatsApp text message, or give me a ring, all on the main number 0344 499 1000. I just want to take you through the day. I want to take you through what we've been reporting throughout the day when it comes to this brilliant documentary available on YouTube now by Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel will speak to in a second, but I want to bring you a couple of different clips. One is the absolute chaos of actually getting on the dinghy in the first place. Let's have a look at this.
I managed to get a lift onto the dinghy, and it was just absolute chaos. Chaos, chaos, chaos. Yeah, push. Yeah. Ready, both hands, go. Go on, come on, we got you. Come on. We got you. Yeah, it's okay, don't worry, don't panic. You know, there's people almost drowning in the water trying to get to the boat. They've got no idea how to swim. They've got no life jacket. There's people screaming on the boat. There's kids screaming on the boat. I've never seen chaos like it. It was just, you know, I'm sort of on this boat thinking someone's going to get killed there.
There's more footage in this about a French police boat and what they did to try to sabotage these people coming over. More from Christian and Isabel's investigation. Let's have a look.
The gendarme boat appeared.
Relax.
The police boat took control of our boat, so it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle. While they were talking to us, they said, "Don't go ahead. It's dangerous out there. It's very wavy."
This is very rough. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police said that to us, you know, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat, we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
Well, we're reflecting on so much of that, as have you been too, including Amanda in London, who says, what a heroic and revealing piece of journalism. Christian and Isabel have done a great service to our country and deserve the highest awards for this. Bex in Bolton says, so proud of Christian and Isabel. Excuse my French, but creme de la creme of journalism. Thank you for your bravery and service. On Christian, Joanna says, I just laughed at the intelligence branch of the UK Home Office wanting a meeting. They can't shut him up, and they have known all along what is going on. Now there is the proof for everyone to see. When you saw Starmer and Macron laughing and joking together, it's obvious it's been deliberate. Starmer, who wants to rejoin the EU, and Macron helping him by creating the crisis. Andy Burnham will continue this. Also, James says, at this point we have to consider that the government, or more precisely the left, do not want to stop the migrant crisis. You watch. These people will not be warmly welcomed, will not only be warmly welcomed, but looked after in a way that will be found to give them the right to vote. We all know why Labour won the last election, and without a certain voting pact, they wouldn't have won, even if this pathetic vote share that they did. This is going to get far worse without Trump-style intervention. Well, Isabel Oakeshott, our international editor behind all this, pioneering journalism, joins us now. Isabel, congratulations on your excellent documentary with Christian. I know a lot of time, effort and graft went into it. What do you think it shows? What do you think are the key revelations for people who are maybe just joining us who haven't seen the whole thing? It is available on YouTube, but if they're just joining us in the 7 o'clock hour, what do you think are the main points that you want them to take away from it?
Well, no one has ever seen what it's really like on those boats. We've seen plenty of footage of migrants desperately trying to get on a boat, but no one has ever documented how it is to actually cross the channel and what happens when you're met by border force. So that is all completely new. Nobody has ever interacted with the smugglers with the aim of securing passage on a boat. And that was very, very difficult for an Englishman. And no one, as Nigel Farage confirmed this morning on Jeremy Kyle's show, no one has ever documented the French police apparently helping smugglers get off the boats after they've checked all's present and correct and that all their passengers are on board. No one has ever documented the French authorities helping those smugglers, whether deliberately or inadvertently, head back to the French beaches so that they can do it all again. So what we wanted to do with this operation was try to piece together more of the journey than has previously ever been explained. I think our knowledge of, in general, the media knowledge and therefore the public knowledge of this and the political knowledge is pretty skin, it's skin deep. It's not profound. It's really based on what people are able to take photographs of, to film from the safety of the beaches. No one has penetrated these migrant camps. It's too dangerous. And nobody has really got inside the networks enough to be able to get over to the UK, or else if they'd wanted to do it, no news organisation, I think, would really support this as an undercover operation because it's too dangerous.
And in fact, I've spoken to journalists today who have tried to do this, have pitched this kind of idea, and were told it was too dangerous. Others, that have been. So just give us a sense of that risk, because Christian could have been unmasked at any time, couldn't he?
Yeah, so, I mean, to be clear, we did this without telling News UK because it wouldn't have been fair to tell anyone else that we were doing it. This was on us. If it went wrong, it was certainly going to be a mega backlash on me professionally. I would have looked extremely irresponsible if Christian had come to harm. After all, I'm the experienced journalist here. His background, he's a builder. But he was really, really up for it. And, I kept having to be sure that he wanted to do this. I certainly wasn't going to be putting him under any pressure to do it. So it's very much a joint operation. And what was the risk? Well, I mean, actually, the easiest bit, in a sense, the bit we were least worried about was drowning in the channel. As we've documented, and as everybody really knows, the search and rescue are there hovering around all the time. We were doing this at a very, very benign time of year. weather conditions wise. We did try it at other times of year, and it would have been much more hazardous. So we weren't actually that worried about losing life in the channel, although tragically people do. But Christian's a strong swimmer. He had a good life jacket and so on. What we really worried about was him being unmasked, exposed as a journalist while he was around the people smugglers. These are not people to mess with. We tried various different identities, false identities. And we realized, this isn't a game. This wasn't some kind of jolly journalistic jape to get some headlines. This was really very high stakes. These people, as Christian has exposed, carry and wield semi-automatic weapons. You can hear those going off in the migrant camps at night. He, at one point during our year-long effort to make this happen, was literally told to get out of the camp that night or he would be killed. We took that really seriously. We think they meant it. This was way back in December, they had, I think, realized that he was either an undercover UK intelligence or, he was media of some sort. So these are the risks. One day you're a journalist or an undercover reporter and it's all looking good. The next day, as one of the people smugglers said to him, you won't wake up. That's it. So that's what we were playing with here.
And one of the most interesting points that I've been banging on for some time about, and you have exposed and showed to be the case, is the fact that whilst people can pay large amounts of money, they're also essentially modern slaves when they come over here in many cases. There are many people who are indentured to the gangmasters and are working in the black economy. That's going on at an industrial scale, isn't it, Isabel?
I think that point, I really hope that is now being hammered home by this documentary, because I repeatedly tried to make it, and I have tried to make it ever since we began this operation back last year. We realised fairly early on what still most politicians don't seem to have grasped, which is that probably most of those on the boats are not paying in any kind of conventional way. And when you think about it, it is completely illogical to imagine that young men who are low skilled, completely uneducated, they've got very few no professional skills really, even in their home countries. They are coming from exceptionally impoverished places, whether it's Chad or Eritrea or Sudan. These people, we've observed it, they don't have money for a baguette. They don't have money, €1, €2 to get on a bus in France. It's completely inconceivable that they've somehow managed to save £1,000, £1,500 for the last bit of a journey that has taken them across continents. That defies all logic. In places like Eritrea, the average annual income is about $2,000. So, how people have very little savings in the UK. They certainly have no savings in places where, life is just a daily struggle just to have something to eat.
Isabel, thank you. Well done on a great documentary. The whole thing's available on YouTube. We'll be showing various clips throughout the programme. We'll also be speaking a little bit later on to a council leader who has seen one of these migrant facilities here in the UK. A gym, football pitch, snack bar, 17 minibuses to ferry migrants into towns. This is Wethersfield, the former RAF base, and we'll be speaking to the council leader who has been there and has seen what awaits some of these migrants. Michael's been in touch and said, having watched the Undercover Migrant latest documentary, do we think the mainstream media and the government should treat it as seriously as the so-called documentary Adolescence? Well, of course, that was fiction, let's remember. Joanna says, Dolly Parton has died. So sad. I'm not surprised. She lost her soulmate in March. They were married almost 60 years. Very common for one to follow the other. And Tony says, Dolly bought books for kids. Please mention that. She did a lot of charitable work. In fact, there's one clip I'm hoping to get on the screen of when she had a lovely meeting and indeed sang a little bit with a wonderful young man who has Down syndrome. And she was just very, very charitable, very warm-hearted person, Dolly Parton, who has died at the age of 80. We'll be paying tribute to her later in the programme, and we'll also be talking about this huge, significant documentary by Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott about what really goes on those small boats. Stay with us here on Talk.
scariest moment? Not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. I'm running down to the beach. I'm trying to get to the water. You're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang. 6 coppers stopped me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. Surely not. They'd never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, we're reflecting on the very sad news that broke 19 minutes ago that Dolly Parton has very sadly left us. She was 80. We've tributes from various people. Lisa in Chelmsford has been in touch and said, Jolene is one of my favourite songs. How lucky we are that Dolly shared her talent with us all. May she rest in peace and her memory be a blessing to all who loved her. We'll talk about many stories on the debate desk, as we always do. We fire through all the different stories. This evening, I'm delighted that Claire Muldoon, political commentator, is with me. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And Kai Wilshaw, the Labour Party activist, is with us too. I don't know how big country fans you were, but whether you knew the music or whether you were into Dolly Parton or not, clearly an icon has very sadly left us, Claire.
The original Pocket Rocket, I think, is quite, quite apt here. I mean, I loved her music. I thought she was a great personality. 80 years old. What was that? 11 Grammys. She was nominated for something like 55. 26 songs of hers reached #1 in the Billboard charts alone, in the country charts. And you know, she was godmother to Miley Cyrus, whom I also love. She just seemed to transcend demographic of economy, race, creed, age, everything. She was just phenomenal, and what a beautiful songwriter she was as well.
Definitely. And she sort of had everything, didn't she? She had
wit.
She didn't take herself too seriously.
Nope.
That's important. And I mean, the quote that she always said at the start of her concerts was, "It costs a lot to look this cheap."
Yeah.
You know, she there's some great things that often go around social media as well, where there's a guy who is in the audience who's asking her questions, a Q&A, and he's bold, and he says, I've lost my hair. Do you think I should do like you, Dolly, have a wig? Invest in a wig? And she says, just because you haven't got the fuzz doesn't mean you're not a peach. it's just like instant kind of stuff like that. I mean, she's just a fantastic person, as well as a great singer.
Yeah, I mean, it's also extraordinary to me that you can have a celebrity these days who remains studiously fairly neutral and anything contentious, and yet she was this amazing philanthropist in the guise of the likes of Carnegie and so on that have definitely disappeared. Nowadays, billionaires don't really tend to do these big projects, as far as I can see, but she gave to hurricane relief, she gave to her literacy program. She was always there when a crisis struck, and I think it's all just so admirable that she had that grit and came from poverty and continued to help people who were in the same...
She was one of 12 in a one-room house.
I didn't know that.
It really is extraordinary, but she made Dollywood, which was her charity, a definite focal point, not only for Tennessee, but everywhere else in America as well. She was an ardent supporter of LGBTQ+, whatever, etc., etc. And, you know, and the COVID vaccination, she donated to that as well, because she felt that she had the means to do it. So therefore, she was lucky to have that, and she wanted to spread it around. And she didn't just spread it around throughout the hours of 9 to 5.
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Good.
Yeah, no, certainly. Kai, how do you think she'll be remembered?
Well, I think, first and foremost, for her music. I think her songs are those kinds that live on throughout generations. I think you could look at Gen Z and whatever the new one's called, Gen Alpha, is that right?
Not sure.
And they recognise all her songs.
Not my generation, anyway.
No.
I think that'll continue. You mentioned Miley Cyrus. They've talked about how close they are.
Yes.
They've collaborated together. You know, she's her own songwriter in her own right. I wonder whether she'll continue to hold the flame for Dolly Parton as a Dolly Parton ambassador of sorts, and continue
she's quite the talent, and you know, Tennessee is already on the map for country and western, and it's going to be even more so now too. posthumously.
Yes, absolutely.
For Dollywood.
Indeed, we will continue to pay tribute to Dolly Parton throughout the show.
Wood, and Dolly everything.
Indeed, and whatever you'd like to say about it, please do get in touch if you have memories. Maybe you've been to Dollywood, maybe you're a huge country music fan. We're working on various guests behind the scenes. This news has just broken in the last 20 minutes or so, and we will be speaking to people, more guests, about paying tribute to Dolly Parton, who's very sadly died at the age of 80. Just before we go into our next story, I just want to play in that clip again about the absolute chaos that Christian Drogan described when he was getting on the dinghy, this landmark documentary by Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel interviewed him today, a long documentary played earlier during Kevin's show. The whole thing's available on our YouTube channel. Let's just play a little clip now and then we'll get Claire and Kai's thoughts on it.
I managed to get a lift onto the dinghy, and it was just absolute chaos. Chaos.
Yeah, push. Yeah. Ready, both hands, go on. Come on, we got you. Come on. We got you. Yeah, it's okay, don't panic.
You know, there's people almost drowning in the water trying to get to the boat. They've got no idea how to swim. They've got no life jacket. There's people screaming on the boat. There's kids screaming on the boat. I've never seen chaos like it. It was just, you know, I'm sort of on this boat thinking someone's going to get killed there.
Really disturbing scenes from a very important documentary. Claire, what do you make of what Christian and Isabel found out?
I'm sorry to say I'm not actually surprised that we know it's going on. Yvette Cooper, when she was Home Secretary, was into smashing the gangs. I've said myself on numerous occasions, years ago, that we need to get hold of the business model because, in my view, it's human trafficking, it's human slavery, and we need to stop that at all costs. We're not seeing young families with young children fleeing war-torn countries. These are economic migrants of men of fighting age. They don't look that emaciated. They are being peddled a lot of lies, and they're being peddled the El Dorado, as we know the French police are actually calling the nation and the island of Great Britain. It is preposterous. And if, you know, it's taken one journalist and Isabel Oakeshott, our very own editor here at Talk, to go over to Calais to do this, then, you know, it shows what is done on a daily basis, day in, day out. And whilst I appreciate the Labour government, that's currently incumbent, will say we're down 42%, it's too much. It's still too much. We don't have the one in, one out. What's happening to that? Give it or love it or hate it, I do think Rwanda was a deterrent.
And interestingly, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said our new UK-France deal is already having an impact, stopping crossings before they happen, disrupting the criminal gangs behind them. People smugglers should be in no doubt. We're taking down their operations, seizing their equipment and breaking their business model for good. Are they?
No, they have to, I'm saying.
Well, of course, but are they actually doing it for good? I'm questioning Shabana Mahmood. Through our joint work with France, we have stopped over 47,000 small boat crossing attempts since the election. We will not let up. And Andy Burnham's talked about the relentless nature of this. But as we have seen, you know, the Home Office saying our partnership with France is stronger than ever. Over 1,100 boats or engines have been seized since the election. 48,000 crossing attempts have been prevented. The number of small boat crossings are down. Kai, are they making progress here? Because what Christian has exposed here, for the first time actually, a unique perspective on all of this, is just how dramatic, just how crazy, just how mad the whole thing is.
Well, exactly. I think there's a few lessons from this report. Number one is just the sheer ubiquity of these gangs. I mean, he mentions the territory around Calais and so on in the French beaches being incredibly hostile, like a war zone almost. And these gangs control those areas, let's be clear about that. And that goes to the heart of why it's so difficult to root it out. What I also see from the report is two border forces who are doing the best they can with the situation they've been handed. And then also just how dangerous this crossing is.
Yeah, we had gunshots.
I mean, and the other videos that accompany, in one of the articles I read today, videos of the French police slashing boats to try and stop crossings. We've seen the mega dinghies, the overcrowding that happens on them. And so sometimes it does take, even though I accept the Home Office's line that he is incredibly reckless and dangerous to try and undertake
but one
such a crossing,
country
it
that
does
keeps
take this sometimes
coming up
to
again and
highlight it.
again in terms of pulling the strings is Albania. And as soon as people keep calling them out, keep, getting the evidence and speaking about it, I think that's the only way this is going to be sorted. But it has to be sorted soon.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and there's so much more in that documentary. Let's play another clip about what happened when the French police attempted to intervene here. This is another clip from Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott's documentary.
The gendarme boat appeared.
Relax, 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 relax. Relax, relax.
The police boat took control of our boat, so it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle. While they were talking to us, they said, "Don't go ahead, it's dangerous out there, it's very wavy."
The sea is very rough. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police had said that to us, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat, we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
So much in that documentary, and we will continue to reflect it right throughout the evening. A little bit later on, we're going to be inside the asylum centre holiday camp, it's been called, when they get to this shore. What's it like in Essex? A gym, a football pitch, a snack bar, 17 minibuses to ferry migrants into town. Well, one councillor has been in there for Reform UK, Wethersfield former RAF base, and we'll be speaking to him a little bit later on the programme. So many people getting in touch, not least about Dolly Parton as well. Nate in Belfast said, "I've just seen Dolly is sadly gone. Genuine tears in my eyes. What a class act she was." We'll be speaking to at least one person who knew her a little bit later in the programme, maybe another one as well, just waiting to hear from a few guests that we're bidding for. Joanna in Salisbury says it was Dolly Parton, a great businesswoman employing family, strong religious beliefs that held her above the rest with her philanthropy as well. Penny in Essex says, "So sad, Bonnie Tyler, now Dolly Parton. All the greats are leaving us because they're of age, sadly. No one can take their places." And on Christian Drogan's documentary, Dave in New Zealand says, "Sadly, Isabel and Christian will be vilified instead of getting an award for investigative journalism. I'd be surprised if this gets the coverage it deserves. I hope Musk or Trump use it against Burnham." Well, let me tell you, there are quite a number of journalists who haven't done this kind of work who have been in touch with me, and I've been forwarding them on to Isabel today. They've one in particular, quite a senior journalist, who said that he tried to do something like this and was told no by his employers because it was too risky. So the fact that Christian has done it really is pioneering journalism. Alex in Cardiff says, "Haven't we always known this is going on? I'm sure the gendarmerie officers enjoy a fat brown envelope for taking the smugglers back, but the French have no interest nationally keeping migrants here. They're just a bunch of mugs. Our government thinking about what billions they give to France to stop these boats." Phil in Portsmouth says, one word, wow. Let's see how the government react to this documentary, he said, from Portsmouth. So much more to talk to Claire and Kai on the debate desk about, and let me know what you think too, not just about the documentary, but Dolly Parton as well, and what we're going to talk about in just a second, radicalisation of people in prisons. This is something I know a little bit about, having worked for the Ministry of Justice, because there is so much to talk about. People who go into prison, they haven't committed terrorist offences, they've done bad stuff, but they haven't committed terrorist offences, and then suddenly they become radicalised by Muslim gangs in prison who say convert or else. We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about more arrests after the fatal A66 crash as well, and tributes that have been paid to various people. So much to discuss. Stay with us here on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Thanks everybody who has been in touch. Dee in Chesterfield says, a few years ago Dolly went to Rotherham to give away books to every primary school child. She told them that her father taught her to read from the Bible, which was the only book in their home. She was successful and wealthy, but she never forgot her roots and what it was to be from a hard-working family with only enough money for the basics. Her kindness will live on, says Dee in Chesterfield. And Cliff in Berkshire has been in touch and says, should Christian fear being arrested by the bullying gangster state? Isabel said this morning that the story is so big it will be all over the MSM mainstream media channels and outlet. I've just searched the BBC and Sky and it wasn't mentioned at all. Well, that I think probably tells its own story. And a little bit of friendly criticism of Claire, I think, from Cliff, in a nice way, when he said, I was interested hearing Claire struggling over the LGBTIOKA, etc. The last time I said it, I was having my eyes tested. Says
Cliff, that is no criticism. I actually take that as a compliment, and I'm glad you picked it up in it. I'm the same.
I just want to show you a little clip of Dolly Parton. She had a meeting with a 12-year-old fan. His name was, is Gage Blackwell, and he met her at Dollywood in Tennessee, her theme park. He had posted a video on social media sharing his dream to meet the country music icon, and a friend helped connect his mother with Dolly's team, and they sang a little song, and Dolly joked that Gage reminded her of Kenny Rogers because he kept up so well, and Gage suffers from learning difficulties. And I think this clip, this was the first thing that entered my head actually when I thought of Dolly Parton, because it involves her singing and also being nice to just a kind person to those who are perhaps struggling in life a little bit. So let's just see this.
Wow, that's a good name. Gage, is it? Gage? Gage. Gage. I love that name. Gage Rogers. I hear you like Kenny Rogers. Do you like singing? I like singing. What do you know? Islands in the stream. That is what we are. No one in between. Sing with her. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other. Ha ha. From one lover to another. Ha ha. Good deal. That's better than Kenny. That's better than Kenny. Yeah, that was Tammy, wasn't it? Yeah, Tammy was a good friend of mine, and Loretta's a good friend of mine, and we used to sing together a lot. You like to listen to this one?
Just absolutely lovely, Claire.
Completely disarms everyone, doesn't she? And she's so natural and she's so sincere.
And he's not overwhelmed by it.
No.
He's not, some people are really, I'd be really starstruck if I met someone like that. And she just sits down, normal.
But that sincerity is lacking in a lot of us, without even that amount of star quality.
It comes from that kindness, doesn't it? I mean, a few people have written in with talking about her religious beliefs, but it's religious beliefs rooted in that kindness to all folk that I think we can all learn from, can't we? I mean, you mentioned the LGBT community. She spoke out for same-sex marriage back when it was being passed in the US. She also spoke out against a law against trans rights being brought down in Tennessee.
She was pretty fearless, especially in the Deep South. She knew her fans, she knew what she thought, and was unafraid to state her opinions, as well as belt out those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes from experience, doesn't it? When you've been on the scene and have such a reputation as not only a global star, but respected, as you said, Peter, by everybody across generations, across political divides, across nations. It comes with some confidence, doesn't it?
The Rolling Stones don't have that, that aura about them, or that sense of charity that she had. I mean, her love of her life, her husband Carl Dean, he just died aged 82 last year.
It's often the way, isn't it?
It is. It's so often the way in our normal lives, without having all the money and the trappings of fame that she had. And she also played Glastonbury in 2014 as well.
I've forgotten about that.
She is she's what a woman.
Yeah, certainly.
She really, really was an icon and a pocket rocket. She was truly one of the best.
Dolly Parton, who has died aged 80. We'll continue the tributes, and please send them in if you've any memories. Maybe you saw her at Glastonbury, maybe you saw her at a different concert, and maybe you've been to Dollywood. Dolly Parton, who's died at the age of 80. That news has just been announced in the last 40 minutes or so. I just want to talk a little bit about the story in prisons, Muslim gangs forcing white prisoners to convert to Islam, and certainly what I've heard about is pressure and the promise of protection within the prison that often happens. And this is Nick Timothy, who is the Shadow Justice Secretary. He often unearths these things, does old Nick Timothy, and certainly what we've heard about this is pretty shocking stuff, because there is so much information about these people being converted in prison. 1 in 5 followers of the faith in jail is actually white, nearly 4 times the rate in the general population. This is 1 in 5 Muslims in prisons in England and Wales is white, nearly 4 times the 5.8% in the general population. They're being radicalised. They're also being converted in prison because of Muslim gangs, and often towards jihadism as well. Kai, what do you make of this?
Well, for me, what this highlights is something that is lost so often when we have these conversations about prison overcrowding and about what the right route is for somebody who commits a crime, minor to serious, whether they go to prison or whether, in fact, rehabilitation or some other routes might be the more appropriate sort of course of action. We miss the fact that at the minute, at present, our prisons essentially take in quite low-level criminals, and by and large, they leave hardened criminals because of the nature of our prisons right now. It's essentially a criminal creation enterprise almost. We see that in the reoffending rates. That's one of the reasons why prisons are overcrowding, because as more and more people are going to prison, but the rates of reoffending are remaining stubbornly high, and so we have this awful bottleneck
in some cases.
And they're often being radicalised in prison as well. In 2020, an ex-inmate claimed Islamist gangs bully prisoners. Let's just take a look at this.
People convicted of terror offences. Some of them were violent, some of them was preaching an extreme idea in public places, and there is a lot of talk of the Islamic states and how they want this UK to be Islamic state run.
So how do they approach you, and what do they say?
It took about 2 days before the contact was made to me. They tried to bully you into thinking that you need some sort of help and protection and a group to be around. If you're not going to be a part of what they believe or their ideas, then it is a group attack which will occur to the person.
Clearly this is a massive problem, Claire.
It's a huge problem, absolutely huge. The rate of conversion outside prison is 6.5%, and yet in prison it's up to 1 in 5, like you said, which is like almost 20%. Also, on that, you know, you've always got chaplains in prison services. The Church of England only have 87 chaplains. The Catholic chaplains are, what, 94? And other Free Church and other Christians is between them 64 and 23, 80 odd, 87 or something like that. 140 chaplains for the Muslim state at the moment, up from 128 in 2023, 2024. How are they getting these messages out? How do they know they need to have more? And yet there's not one major imam that's in charge of the whole of the UK, or indeed the whole of Islam as a nation, unlike Catholics that have the Pope, that have the first infallibility state, and the state of the Vatican that can teach and give guidance on how to live one's life. This is, for me, it's very difficult, and it makes me very cross to hear the rates of conversion here, because Mormons have tried to do it for years, of ringing in doorbells and you know, set up people and try and introduce their faith to people. There's a thing called apostolization, where you go out and you save souls, and yet we see this hotbed of crime, hotbed of deliverance, a hotbed of a radicalised version of a faith that is then turning into almost part of the prison sentence and part of rehabilitation. And I think that's crucially very dangerous.
We'll talk more about this throughout the show. Please do give me a shout if you have thoughts on it. 0344 499 1000. Many people in touch. Bill in Liverpool says, when oh when are the silent majority of the UK going to wake up and let their voice be heard? This invasion of the UK has got to be stopped. It won't be long before we become the new Lebanon. They were a Christian country, and look at them now. They let them in, and in the long term they've taken over. Margaret Thatcher and Nigel Farage were right. They both predicted this, and they were both right. Burnham has got to stop the boats. We're being lied to. This Labour government must be made accountable now. Alex says, I remember 2 years ago I was getting a taxi to Nice. The taxi driver said, your government is crazy. All you need to do is stop giving them everything and they will stop coming. But we give illegal migrants everything, so they keep on coming. But we have to leave the ECHR because our immigration lawyers have vastly different interpretations to other members of the EU. Interesting as well that Alex also says it's not just in prisons, it's psychiatric hospital wards. So many times I've been on them and they try to get me to convert to Islam, but they realise it's pointless because I had unshakable faith in something else, but they try and try. Another texter says on Dolly Parton, genuine warmth from a lovely lady, a sad loss, but what a legacy. Rest in peace, Dolly Parton. We're reflecting on that throughout the evening. And Bob in Cheltenham has been in touch and says, Peter, I heard you sing the Cranberries yesterday on the show. Will we hear a bit of Dolly this evening? Jolene, perhaps? I think a great tribute to Dolly Parton would for me to not sing her songs. But certainly, as I remind you that next week from Tuesday and indeed the following week, I will be on Drive rather than this programme, filling in for Kevin O'Sullivan, perhaps not working quite 9 to 5. Stay with us.
Scariest moment, not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. I'm running down to the beach, I'm trying to get to the water. You're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang, 6 coppers stop me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. Surely not. They never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers are
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, it's just been confirmed that Father Brian Darcy, who is one of the people in the UK and Ireland who knows the most about country music and was a friend of Dolly Parton, will be joining us a little bit later on in the programme. Just in the break, received confirmation of that. So we will be speaking to Father Brian Darcy, who knew Dolly Parton. He is himself a very, very well-known figure on the country music scene, Father Brian Darcy, and we'll be talking to him a little bit later on. Ernie says Calais is just the dumping ground for failed asylum seekers. That's why there are no families. The families who were genuine asylum seekers have all been granted asylum in all the other countries of Europe. We're getting what Europe doesn't want, and that's why they're helping the people smugglers clean up France. I can't really understand how anyone with an education, especially politicians, can't see it. Nick says the Isabel Oakeshott scoop exposing the Calais people smugglers and their all too close relationship with the French police was worthy of the Watergate exposure in the US in the 70s. But it is more than curious that the police seem to have been been waiting to intervene on the first boat, overcrowded and dangerous, but nowhere to be seen on the second, able to make a relatively uncrowded and safe crossing. The UK's intelligence service knows exactly what is going on in Calais. There was no doubt aware of Isabel's brave operation, as were the French. So while this was groundbreaking journalism of the highest order, anyone with an experience of the black arts of intelligence can see this was a very good attempt by the UK and French governments at reverse propaganda. If there's any doubt about this, by treating a border farce gave the up away. You're on the wrong boat, says Spartacus in Dorset, apparently. Penny says that crash with 7 people dying was horrifying. Everyone with those 5 driving on the wrong side of the road, killing those 2 policemen, just for a laugh. I can't imagine what the families are going through. I can't be sorry that those 5 have died. 4 with records. Travellers bringing back the awful death of PC Harper by travellers. They had done this before and would eventually kill others. It is absolutely sickening, says Penny in Essex. Well, there has been a balloon release for the A66 crash victims, those in the car, and that has been quite controversial. We'll be talking about that a bit later on in the programme. Let's just see a bit of that. So you can see there on the screen, or I'll describe it to you if you're listening to the radio, there's people releasing orange balloons. There's also some flares that are sort of a reddy orangey colour as well. There's some people in balaclavas there as well, revving motorbikes as well. Videos show the event held shortly after 5 o'clock, just a stone's throw from where the deadly collision took place. An array of vehicles revving their engines, honking their horns, orange flares and balloons filled the sky. One woman in her 20s who attended the vigil insisted that one of the people who died in the crash was a lovely, caring lad and not some scumbag who should just be written off and forgotten. The 5 deceased had 37 previous convictions between them, with only one of them, Michael Cahill, not having a criminal record. Nobody deserves to die, but at the same time, I'm afraid they appear to be, anyway, the authors of their own fate. Claire, I wonder what you make of this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Everything that you have just said, but I don't know what the significance is of balloons, letting them off, the colour orange, etc., etc. I wonder if anyone has any information on that. I think that this is one example of social media going far too far. This apparently was a TikTok trend, or they were filming it for TikTok for the use of.
It's a very American trend, isn't it?
It's just
baby showers, for example.
In which case they would be driving on the right side of the road. Then I mean, there's just no excuse for this absolute delinquency. And you know, whilst yes, the loss of any life is tragic, but these guys knew what they were doing. They took a risk. They managed that risk in the sense that they got into the car, they got behind the wheel, they enabled the driver, the passenger, and then the rest of the passengers in the back. And blow me, there's always innocent people involved in anything like this. And those 5 in that car were not innocent.
Kai, what do you think?
I think you're right, and it seems as if they had already embarked on a life of crime and those around them well before this happened. But this does happen, doesn't it? Crime begets crime, and if you fall in with the wrong group, then yes, you may well be a lovely boy, but falling in with the wrong crowd as a teenager does happen, and it happens in particular in some communities. I saw a statistic, really interesting today, about the number of deaths of young men in particular from the travelling community who actually they suffer massively disproportionate rates. So I think
there's a statistic in Ireland, actually, 22% of traveller men die on the road.
It's extraordinary.
That's because none of them have got licences. They learn to drive on fields, on dirt tracks. I mean, there's this premise that, you know, they are a travelling community. They're very much a community, and they travel.
And then you add in the social contagion that proliferates on social media.
Well, you're right to mention the social contagion as well, and the fact that there have been so many arrests as a result of this, more than a dozen, and a house rammed by a car before the fatal A66 crash in Middlesbrough belonged to the father of a teenager who died in the incident. Cole Worthy, who was 17, was one of 5 young men who died in in the incident. Before the crash at 20 to 4 in the morning on Saturday, police had received multiple reports of 2 cars driving dangerously around the town and a Volvo XC60 seen ramming properties. The BBC has reported that Worthy and 4 others set out in the Passat. Police said they were linking the activities of the Volvo XC60 and the Passat. No suggestion, by the way, that Worthy's father was in any way involved in criminal activity. Clearly, with a number of arrests here, this is not over yet, Kai.
No, and that's why I think I would caution that we rush to judgment on this. You know, there's been all sorts of back and forth between politicians.
I don't think anyone's judging it. I think we've just presented the facts.
No, I know that. But in terms of trying to blame different, for instance, today there's been Nick Timothy and Anna Turley have got into a bit of a spat where Anna Turley has accused Nick Timothy of attribute...
Just tell people who Anna Turley is, of course.
So Anna Turley was the chair of the Labour Party. She's now Home Office Minister, I think.
For asylum.
But she's also the constituency
for
MP for a red car for this area where this happened, isn't she?
Yes, and she's written a letter to Nick Timothy, who's the Shadow Home Secretary.
The Shadow Justice
Secretary. Yep. I'm getting all my titles mistaken today. But she's sort of hit back saying, you've sought to attribute to me moral equivalence or judgments about worth, which are not to be found anywhere in my post. She made a post where she said that all the victims' deaths are a tragedy. Now, is this the time for politicians to be arguing on Twitter about which victims ought to be given most weight? No, but certainly I think this will cause more discussions about, we're seeing it seems to me that we're seeing stories all the time now.
I think car crashes and accidents. I think Nick Timothy's point was on the back of PC Harper's offenders being potentially let out early. I think he's riding on the back of that point politically to say we don't want anything else attributed to anything else in our police forces. It's an absolute dying, crying shame. They died in service, and yet here we are again.
But isn't that the point, isn't it? As you said, riding off the back of this politically. I don't think now is the time to be doing that. And when we do get to that point, we need to take it in the right.
It raises a political issue, does it not? It raises this issue about the type of people who are doing this, why they're doing it, and what they're getting away with, Kai.
Yes, of course. I agree, but I think
if now is not the time for the conversation, when is?
Yeah, but I don't think in either PC Harper's case, and we know that he was dragged, and the prisoners didn't know that he was hanging out the door basically of the car, and in this case, I don't think the 7 of them, the 5 of them, set out to kill police officers.
And that's the point.
But they did.
Both those things happened. Just to say that Donald Trump has put on Truth Social a tribute to Dolly Parton. He said, very sad to report that Dolly Parton, one of the greatest country singers and far beyond ever, has just passed away. This is a true loss for millions of people, says Donald Trump. There has never been anyone like her and never will. In her honour, I am lowering the American flag throughout the United States for a 1-week period, beginning tonight at 6 p.m. Rest in peace, Dolly. The world loves you, President Donald J. Trump. That was Donald Trump on Truth Social just a minute ago. We will have further coverage of that, and Father Brian Darcy, the country broadcaster who knew Dolly Parton, will be joining us in a few minutes' time. I also want to, just before you go on the debate desk, ask you about these statistics around antidepressants, because there are 1 in 7 people now on antidepressants. The pill use has rocketed. We'll talk a bit more about that as the programme goes on. Kai, what do you make of this?
Sadly, I'm not surprised. I think we're seeing a creeping Americanism in the way that our health system sometimes looks to treat mental health issues. And we're also seeing,
is it an American thing to give people pills to deal with depression?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
What would you suggest instead if people have depression?
Well, therapy.
Well, I mean, I've had...
But also, I mean, look, it's a mix of different things, isn't it?
I've had depression for 15 years. I take pills every single day. I've had counselling as a result. It helped me a huge amount. Yeah. But there's a chemical imbalance in my brain. It's not about feeling sad.
I understand that, Peter. I think there is a difference, isn't there, between people whose mental health disorders and issues might need to be treated through through pills, and those who actually, over time, talking therapy and CBT and also all those interventions can be just as effective. And what I think there has been in the last few years is a bit of a rise in self-diagnosis or people not actually going to the GP.
And are the GPs, Claire, doing necessarily the right thing, or are they just saying, pop the pills and off you go?
In my view, I really don't think they are. And whilst, you know, people like yourself, Peter, would say they have got a chemical imbalance in their brains, unfortunately, there's not a prescriptive blood test to get that. Yeah. So it's all down to symptoms and the way that you present. What I don't like about this statistic is clearly they are on the rise. And we know that evidence would support that people who are on certain types of antidepressant medication, it numbs them out. It makes them zombies. It doesn't give them any lust for life. It doesn't give them the ability to either, you know, get acknowledge risk, acknowledge attraction, acknowledge, you know, things that we need to continue.
But if you're on the right
in
medication, that shouldn't happen.
It shouldn't happen.
It's often. I mean, I was on the wrong medication first, then I was on the right medication. Things were a lot better.
Yes. But I'm sure, Peter, that the 1 in 7 people now in antidepressants haven't gone through all of those checks and balances.
True.
And we know that people who come off antidepressants, who perhaps are in relationships, look at their partner and go, what the hell did I find in you?
Claire, quite the thought to end the debate desk this evening. Thank you to Claire Muldoon and thank you to Kai Wilshaw as well. Busy debate desk as well, especially that breaking news about Dolly Parton, and we will continue to pay tribute to her throughout the programme. And if you have thoughts on that or any other of the topics that we're talking about, please do get in touch. Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. We'll be speaking to someone who knew her in just a few minutes' time. Father Brian Darcy, bit of a country legend in the UK and Ireland. So much to discuss too on migration, and we'll be speaking to a counsellor who has been inside one of the holiday camp style centres that migrants are brought to. So stay with us here on the Evening Exchange.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good evening. We're reflecting on the very sad news that Dolly Parton has died at the age of 80. We'll talk to someone who knew her in just a few minutes' time. Huge and important documentary by Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan. We've been showing it and talking about it today, about what really goes on those migrant boats. We'll show you a couple of clips in a second about what the police do and don't do. We'll also be speaking to a politician, a leader in Essex who has been inside the asylum centre holiday camp at Wethersfield former RAF base. A gym, a football pitch, a snack bar, 17 minibuses to ferry migrants into towns. If they know they're going to come to that, how on earth are we dealing with this problem? We'll talk as well about the crash and the A66 and all the implications from that. Mike Neville will be in the studio about that. Busy programme this evening. I want to hear from you. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. You can text me 87222 with the word talk in your text. You can tweet me at talkTV, follow me at Peter Cardwell. You can also give me a WhatsApp voice note, a WhatsApp text message. You can give me a ring as well, 0344 499 1000. Whatever you want to talk about this evening, whether it's Dolly Parton, whether it's migrants, whether it's that road crash, whether it's the fact that 1 in 7 people are now on antidepressants. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you think you shouldn't be, or maybe you think that people should just get on with it in the way that perhaps Kai was talking about a minute ago. Whatever you want to say, however you want to say it, give me a shout, 0344 499 1000. Stay with us here on the Evening Exchange on Talk. Well, I just want to play you a couple of clips, just a very, very small taster of this landmark documentary that Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan have put together. Christian actually came across on a small boat to the UK posing as a migrant, and he filmed this chaotic scene of actually getting on the dinghy.
I managed to get a lift onto the dinghy, and it was just absolute chaos. Chaos, chaos, chaos.
Yeah, push. Yeah. Ready, both hands, go on. Come on, we got you. Come on. We got you. Yeah, it's okay, don't panic.
You know, there's people almost drowning in the water trying to get to the boat. They've got no idea how to swim. They've got no life jacket. There's people screaming on the boat. There's kids screaming on the boat. I've never seen chaos like it. It was just, you know, I'm sort of on this boat thinking someone's going to get killed there.
Well, that was Christian Drogan there, who has done that documentary. Lots of people in touch about this. A great show, says one person. Can anybody find out why the BBC, Sky and ITV have no mention of Isabel's terrific documentary? Another person says, regarding the crossings, is there any wonder the French are not doing their job? What incentive do they have to stop the boats? If they do a good job, they will be keeping the immigrants in their country, and the UK will stop paying them when no crossings occur. All they have to do is stop a few crossings and take our money and let the rest through. So they're now the UK's problem. We are taken for mugs. There should be an inquiry set up to see how the money is being used by the French and whether it should be withdrawn. Let's see another clip from this about the French attempting to intervene on a boat, again from Christian and Isabel's documentary. Let's have a look.
The gendarme boat appeared.
Relax.
The police boat took control of our boat, so it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle while they were talking to us. They said, don't go ahead, it's dangerous out there, it's very wavy.
The sea is very rough. Okay. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police had said that to us, you know, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat, we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
Christian Drogan there speaking to Isabel Oakeshott on that remarkable footage. That documentary, you can see the whole thing on YouTube. You can watch it after 10 o'clock this evening after the show if you wish. I also want to talk about what happens when the migrants come here, because the Daily Mail has done a special report involving Peter Harris, a Reform UK councillor at Essex County Council, who has had a look round the asylum centre holiday camp in Wethersfield, the former RAF base, a gym, football pitch, snack bar, 17 minibuses to ferry migrants into town. I'm delighted that Peter is joining me now, Councillor Peter Harris, who's the leader of Essex County Council and a Reform UK councillor. Peter, thank you for joining me. What do you make of what you saw at Wethersfield, former RAF base? Just talk us through what you saw.
Good evening. Yes. Well, on the face of it, when you approach the camp, there's gates, there's barbed wire, but these gates are open and they can allow the migrants to come in and out of free will whenever they want. When you actually arrive and you go in, the first thing that you see is a lot of open space, green sort of fields, lots of lovely trees around. It's a really sort of pleasant sort of environment. Then there was a full-size football pitch with goals, inside sports hall, gym, fitness room, pool table, snack bar, table tennis, TVs everywhere, which the migrants gathered round and watched the World Cup in. There's a suggestion box on the wall, and we were informed that one of the popular suggestions was that could they have a swimming pool, please? I mean, the whole thing really, smacks of a holiday camp. It really was a sort of a fun sort of area, an atmosphere there in terms of what they were able to do. There was lots and lots of activities there for them to do. But as you go into the gymnasium, there were a number of very fit young men, and they were all young men on this camp, all of them, 100%, aged between the ages of 18 and, let's say, 38, 40. 40 was the top age, I would say. And these men, very muscly. I mean, there was one guy there who probably would have given Arnold Schwarzenegger a run for his money. Big guy, muscles, and clearly they were, very heavily into training. In the fitness room, we were informed that from time to time we get a number of sort of martial arts people coming through who trained, and currently, whilst we were there, there was a person there described as a UFC fighter. The training facilities there were second to none, as you would expect from a military site, and it was absolutely quite incredible. In terms of the other facilities there, we saw a very large restaurant. In fact, two restaurants there, menus, choice of food, 3 times a day, fresh food cooked for everyone there. The menus were must have been in 10 different languages. It was very, very, very nice, fresh food, something to do.
Peter, I'm just curious about, first of all, thanks for that description. Is there a single thing that you saw there that might put someone off coming to this country? Because it all sounds quite nice. Those conditions sound a heck of a lot nicer than a lot of people experience in this country.
Well, absolutely. Not unless they were very upset about not having a swimming pool, because obviously we've had a hot summer, so having a nice cold dip probably would have helped.
Well, we all have to make sacrifices.
Exactly. But one of the things that they have also got access to is an NHS medical centre. After going through the initial checks that they had when they first arrived, which we were informed that some of them would have TB potentially, or have TB, and up to 20% of those migrants would have latent TB, which means that they're not infectious at that stage, but they would be if it wasn't treated, and then are treated. So they've got free access. They can walk in and out. I asked the nurse there, and they said yes. If anybody wants treatment, they can walk in and out of there and request to see a doctor pretty much on demand. Now, the residents of Essex,
what do they say to you in all of this, Peter? Because you're someone who's leading the council in that area. What do your constituents and others think about this? How do they react to the kind of things that you have that you've seen and revealed?
Well, they've been very upset anyway, and they are absolutely outraged with the things that I've been reporting, since my visit on Friday. They are absolutely very, very angry, that's for sure. But the concern amongst many of the residents is one of safety, particularly for the women and children. I saw we was involved 17 minibuses take the migrants into town. So, there might be 300 migrants milling around the town centres of Braintree, Colchester and Chelmsford for no real apparent reason, apart from perhaps going to see one of the charities there who have provided them all with phone SIM cards so that they can keep in contact with them. And, it's simply outrageous. I mean, there is a 2-day induction programme, which we were told was not mandatory, but they are encouraged to go on it, and pretty much they universally do, because they said it would affect their asylum application. And in that one of the things that they're told is regarding the behaviour towards women and children. And
in light of this Home Office document that we've been talking about so much in the last week or so, or is this different?
No, this is different, because I actually held that document up while I was there, and I said, do you provide this document to all the migrants here? And he said, no, we haven't been provided. We saw that announced by the government.
Yes.
So, but the police officer there, who turned up whilst we were walking around on a cycle, it was a scene out of Heartbeat, really. He turned up. I mean, he's a very nice police officer. He's doing the best possible job that he could do. But one police officer amongst 800 migrants, I'm not sure what he can do or could do if there was a real issue there. But what he did say is that a lot of what is in that document, these on the induction training, much of that has been put into that induction training, including informing the migrants that sexual assault of women is a thing that isn't allowed and is frowned upon, let's say, in this country. Rape isn't allowed, and sex with children isn't allowed. And, that such behaviour would affect their asylum application. I mean, you couldn't make this up. But somehow the government are saying that a 2-day course is going to overturn the beliefs of somebody that's been living in a culture where women are treated as second-class citizens for the last 20, 30 years, and somehow this course is going to overturn that. It's really upsetting. It's residents are very angry, and residents also changed their behaviour of coming into town, and some of them tried to get in, they've told me, in and out of those town centres before the migrants actually arrive. And I've seen them with my own eyes. It's very, very concerning, and I am deeply concerned about the safety of our women and children. Having known more about how many are coming out and the lack of control that there is, I have today sent a letter to the Home Secretary. I'm demanding a meeting with the Home Secretary to get some answers from them with regards to reassurance in terms of safety. I'm also meeting at the end of the week the new Chief Constable for Essex, where I'll be.
What do you want the Home Secretary to do? What will your questions be to her? Because she says they're actually making serious progress on people coming across, and they're stopping a lot of those boats. They're giving the relentless approach that Andy Burnham has talked about.
Well, listen, we've got. The numbers have gone up to 800 people that are on the site. They've just announced recently that the permanent numbers are going to go up to 1,245. I saw with my own eyes that the new modular units that are there and the brand new beds that are waiting for more migrants to come in, which will push them up from 800 to 1,245, and that there is a potential surge capacity up to 1,700 should the government apply for that as well. So I think that, whatever the government can say, whatever they like. I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen the fact that this camp is ready for more migrants. That means more migrants being bussed into town, more residents walking around our towns and cities in fear as to of what may happen, during the course of a visit from the migrants. And October, we're going to see the clocks change, the nights are going to be drawing in, so it's going to be getting dark at 4 o'clock. Even more of a risk there. It's simply not good enough. I'm looking for answers from the government, and I won't rest until we get the right answers, or we'll look at what action we can take directly.
Peter, keep in touch with us. Maybe after those meetings we could get you on again just to see if you've made any progress and if they're listening to you and to your constituents as well. I'll be very interested in speaking to you on another occasion. I appreciate your time this evening. That's Councillor Peter Harris, who is leader of Essex County Council for Reform UK. Quite a number of people getting in touch on all sorts of issues. Muslim prison converts, as Testy and Tyneside, not to be crude, but what happens with the circumcision thing? Are they let off? It's definitely just to bump up recruits, take over in reigning obligations when they're out. Nothing but a mafia. Nate in Belfast says, I was at Barlinnie, I think that's how you pronounce it, in Scotland in 2016 for 2 months. Had a good job in the day centre. I had to tell one English guy to stop trying to convert people, dragging them off to rooms, giving them full-on Islamic sermons and indoctrination. That's Nate in Belfast there. Paul, also in Northern Ireland, says some antidepressives are used for pain. Also, quite a number of people in touch on what is happening on all of this. Sue says, seems to me that these men are being groomed to control the population when they rebel against the establishment. Amanda says, just occurred to me that this over-the-top pampering of illegal Muslim men is not only a matter of keeping your enemies closer, but a cowardly act by our leaders to suck up in the hope we won't be attacked. Penny says, when my husband died, I was put on antidepressants and I came off them quite quickly because I didn't like taking them. The doctor should have weaned me off them gradually, but didn't. I drove up on the pavement without realising it. Thank goodness no one was there, but I was obviously terrified that I did that. I had to go back to the doctors, take them again and be weaned off. Awful things, says Penny in Essex. I should say that they've really helped me and they've stabilised me to a huge degree, but you've got to be in the right ones. I'm so sorry, says this person who says, we've lost a legend tonight. Dolly was a strong, caring person that was obvious to millions and will be missed. If anyone wants to know, there's a fabulous documentary on her life. I watched it a couple of weeks ago in the iPlayer. Anyone who's a fan should have a look. Love the show, Peter. Well, there's 2 documentaries you can watch. One on Dolly Parton, the other from Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott. That's your weekend sorted. Grace is in Ealing and has some thoughts on Dolly Parton. Grace, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Hi. Well, I'm always baffled by hearing people about people being converted in prison to Islam, because it's a real contrast with Christianity. You couldn't just kind of be pressured into it or born into it. You choose, you turn to Jesus and you make a personal decision to follow him. And Dolly Parton demonstrated that what that means is not just claiming to be something or being part of a kind of a warlike team in the way that we're seeing with some converts that are in prisons. It's actually that we believe that Jesus called us to do great things in the world, and she really did that.
Do you think Dolly Parton had a Christian witness example there? We saw that clip earlier on. I don't know if you saw it, of her with the 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome. She was just so lovely to him, and that was something that happened all the time. That wasn't a one-off.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of presume that it's normal to care about vulnerable people, but that wasn't always the case in our society. And then Jesus showed that actually vulnerable people and people who are disadvantaged really are precious and deserve or should be cared for.
And Dolly Parton certainly saw that. Grace, thank you. Dionne Warwick, the singer, has said her heart was heavy and she would miss Dolly Parton's jokes. On a post on social media, she said, I will certainly miss her laughter, jokes and her being. Rest well and in total peace, my friend. My heart is heavy. Well, we're going to talk in just a second to Father Brian Darcy. He knew Dolly Parton, interviewed her on a number of occasions and has memories to share. And Kinsey Schofield too, for a stateside look at this for the stateside perspective. For your own perspective, please give me a shout. 0344 499 1000. Stay with us here on Talk.
scariest moment? Not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. You know, I'm running down to the beach. I'm trying to get to the water. You know, you're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang. 6 coppers stopped me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. You know, surely not. They never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Dolly Parton has sadly died at the age of 80. Let's just remind ourselves of some of the genius of her music. Let's have a blast of Jolene. And perhaps the one for which Dolly was best known, well, I suppose it's hard to tell, actually, for which song she was best known. Certainly the first Dolly Parton song I ever remember hearing was at age 80. Let's speak to someone who knew her, Father Brian Darcy, who is a priest, an author, a presenter. He is someone who is extremely well known on the country music scene in the UK and Ireland. Father Brian, thank you for joining me on the programme this evening. A sad day.
It's a very sad day, I have to say. I've always had a special place in my heart for Dolly. In fact, when I was a young priest, people used to always laugh at me because of I always thought that Dolly Parton was great. And she was a sort of figure of fun in the early days, or even then. But nothing compared to what she was become. She was a great songwriter. She was a person that had great faith because her grandfather was a preacher and she was brought up in that sort of Baptist faith, and she never lost it. And she meant she could never have children of her own, but she made sure that the rest of her family were raised, and she paid for that. And of course, her famous one was she gave away tens of millions for children who couldn't read by supplying free books for them. She was a really good person who stood her ground, made a laugh of herself, and made millions doing it.
It's interesting you mention how intelligent she was as well, and I mean lots of people would have underestimated her. For example, Elvis, there's that famous story about I Will Always Love You, which she wrote. He was meant to sing it, but only was going to do so if he got the publishing and music rights. She wanted to keep it, and I'm sure she was glad she did.
Yeah, no question. She did. She carried that through. She said, "No, it's my song, and it's about nobody else. It's about the breakup of Porter Wagoner and myself." She kept the song, and she said, because she kept the song, it was a great deal because when Whitney Houston made it, she made millions and millions out of it, which she wouldn't have done. I don't think it was Elvis. It was Cornel Parker who wanted to do it. Give a writing credit to Elvis. But she said no, and that was the kind of one she was. She would love to have done have done the song. She was a great fan of Elvis. She admired him. She wanted to do it, but she said no. My work is my life story, and nobody's going to claim anything for writing my life story.
Tell me about Dolly the woman. You met her, you interviewed her on many occasions, you knew her for a very long time. Was there any difference between the onstage persona and her as a person?
Well, yeah, there's always a difference. Okay, I mean, the onstage one, she would send herself up for the simple reason that was it. As she used to say, they think I look cheap. I said, well, it cost me $1 million to look this cheap. It was the kind of one-liner she had. She was asked on one occasion, do you not get really annoyed when people call you a dumb blonde? And she said, no, I don't, for 2 reasons. First, I'm not dumb. And secondly, I'm not blonde.
Brian, just stay where we are just for a second. I just want to go stateside to Kinsey Schofield, the journalist and host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Kinsey, Dolly Parton's death will be filling the airwaves, and indeed the President has talked about lowering the American flag for a whole week.
Oh, well, I mean, I feel like a light's been dimmed, right? She was just such a bright light. I said to somebody jokingly, like, she was the last pure, just completely innocent person left on the planet, that no one had a chapter of her life. They were married for nearly 60 years. And my sources tell me that after Carl died, Dolly was never quite the same. And I say it very gently because Dolly herself continued to tell fans that she was working, she was motivated, she had things she wanted to do, and she absolutely did. But privately, I'm told she had been declining since losing Carl last year.
Which is just so totally understandable. How important was she to America, do you think?
I mean, she is not, she's not just a country music icon. I think she is an American icon. She was so clever, too. You guys have stolen some of my lines. I'd pulled some of my favorite Dolly Parton quotes about, like, the higher the hair, the closer to God. I think one of the reasons she was so enchanting to everyone was she was self-deprecating. She was this glamorous, gorgeous woman who, when she entered a room, everybody had to pick their jaws up off the floor. But she was still so sweet and humble, and she was in on the joke. I mean, she never took herself too seriously, except when it came to being at a desk on the phone and handling her own business, which, if you look at the new hotel she's opened up in Tennessee, if you look at Dollywood, if you look at all of these different entrepreneurial avenues she's taken, you realize how clever she was. And, you know, she would have been a billionaire had she not been such a humanitarian and donated so much money to people in need.
Kinsey, thank you. That's Kinsey Schofield there, who's a journalist and host of Kinsey Schofield Unfiltered. Brian Darcy, Father Brian Darcy, the priest, author and broadcaster, still with me. Brian, how will she be remembered, do you think?
I think Dolly will be remembered, as you've just heard, one of the great natural singers. She said, you know, she started off in the Tennessee mountains, and you know, she never lost that utter simplicity. I remember speaking to her about songs that she had written, and I thought, you know, I Will Always Love You would have been her favourite song. Now, it made it the most money for her, but she said no, her favourite song was Coat of Many Colours, because that was exactly where it came from. As I say, her grandfather's a preacher. When she wanted to go to school, she had no clothes, and the mother got patches of bits of clothes and sewed them together and put it on Dolly, and she went to school, and they laughed at her, and she came home crying because the people were laughing at her. And the mother sat her down and said, you know, Dolly, you shouldn't be crying about it, because you're like Joseph. Joseph in the Bible had to have a coat of many colours made. And she said that was something that stayed with her, and she was proud of her poverty after that.
And her faith incredibly important to her too. I'm sure you bonded over that, Brian.
Well, very much so. She was very strong about faith, and she mixed and she never put it in anybody else, but she did say, you know, that faith and good works go hand in hand. We agreed on that. I remember very distinctly talking to her in the Dominion Theatre in London, and that, I think, was the headline I put on the piece that I wrote at that time. You know, faith and good works go hand in hand. And of course, that's a direct quote from St. James in the Bible. So she knew what she was going about. But I think the loveliest thing is Dolly Parton was happiness in a world where there was no happiness. Dolly was happiness. It didn't matter what happened. She brought us through COVID, she brought us through wars, she brought us through poverty, she brought us through crashes. Dolly was always bubbly, up in the air, positive, and when Jolene or some song came on, you couldn't but feel happy. Isn't that a fantastic legacy to leave? Just happiness.
And it's one that will remain, because we will always love her. Brian, thank you. Father Brian Darcy there, priest, author and broadcaster. Really appreciate you sharing your memories of Dolly Parton there. Whatever you think of what Brian said, let me know your thoughts too. 0344 499 1000. We'll talk in just a second. Mike Neville, the former Metropolitan Police DCI, will be in the studio. He'll be talking to us about all the different revelations around the A66 crash. That story just continues. There's so many more arrests. We'll give you all the details in just a second. Stay with us here on Talk.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Thanks, everybody, for being in touch. Yvonne says, I do not understand. France told us our policies attract. What if we cared for legitimate asylum seekers on the understanding that they need asylum? They receive it, but their wives, children and other family members are not accepted, not needing asylum. How would they reduce the influx? Neil says, hi, Cardi P. Do you see any way the residents of that Essex village with a migrant camp nearby could take the government to the ECHR? Surely the population have rights as well. Well, I will hopefully speak to that councillor again, Peter, who is the leader of Essex County Council, because he has many questions for the new Chief Constable, for the Home Secretary as well. We'll get into all of that and we'll hopefully speak to him again when he's had those discussions. Sue says, seems to me these men are being groomed to control the population when they rebel against the establishment. That's about the people in prison. And Becca says people should check on the DVLA website about SSRIs, antidepressant tablets, that are now on a drugs list not to drive on as well. And again on prisons, Amanda says, it's just occurred to me that this over-the-top pampering of illegal Muslim men is not only a matter of keeping your enemies closer, but a cowardly act by our leaders to suck up in the hope we won't be attacked. Lots more to come on all of that, but I want to talk about the A66 crash right now. A house rammed by a car before the fatal A66 crash in Middlesbrough belonged to the father of a teenager who died in the incident. One of those 5 teenagers, 4 of them in criminal records, Cole Worthy, who was 17, was one of 5 young men who died when a car travelling in the wrong direction hit a Cleveland police armed response vehicle, also killing 2 officers. Before the crash at about 20 to 4 on Saturday morning, police had received multiple reports of 2 cars driving dangerously around the town, and a Volvo XC60 was seen ramming properties. The BBC has reported that after his father's home was rammed, Worthy and 4 others set out in the Passat. Police said they're linking the activities of the Volvo and the Passat. There's no suggestion that Worthy's father was involved in criminal activity. We remember, of course, that PC Tom Clough and PC Matthew Blades died in the crash. The Independent Office for Police Conduct said officers had been pursuing the Passat for almost 7 minutes after it was connected to earlier alleged criminal activity, but the pursuit was abandoned 10 seconds before the crash when it turned on to the dual carriageway. There's so much more about this as well. There are far more arrests around this as well. There are 3 men, 24, 19 and 35, held on suspicion of participating in an organised crime group and possession of an offensive weapon. They're in police custody. 21-year-old man, suspicion of participating in an organised crime group, possession of an offensive weapon and criminal damage. 30-year-old woman arrested on suspicion of assisting an offender. A 20-year-old man assisted on suspicion of threats to cause criminal damage and public order. 26-year-old man charged with possession and intent to supply Class A drugs, as well as the possession of criminal property. Another man, 39, 47-year-old woman, released on conditional bail after both being arrested on suspicion of possessing a firearm without a certificate, possession with intent to supply Class A and Class B drugs. 18-year-old man released on unconditional bail. All of this related to what happened at the weekend after being arrested on suspicion of possessing a firearm without a certificate, possession with intent to supply Class A, B and C drugs as well. 2 more, 39-year-old man arrested on suspicion of threats to kill. He's been released on conditional bail. 61-year-old woman released on conditional bail after being arrested on suspicion of possessing a firearm without a certificate. I'm delighted Mike Neville is here to make sense of all this, Detective Chief Inspector. Mike, where do we start with this? What do you think is going on?
Well, I think that the police have raided a traveller's site. That's what it amounts to. All these different offences here, the amount of people involved. You wouldn't get those people in one house. You know, there's got to be a group of places where that's happened, and we know that some of these characters are linked to the travellers community, and so the fact that you've got several people there charged with different offences, I think the police have raided a travellers site, and this is where all the disputes have risen from.
We've seen as well, if we can maybe just play this clip, I'll just have a look at this now and I'll narrate it for people who are listening on the radio, as most of our audience is, but if you're watching it on the telly, you can see that there were flares, there were balloons, orange balloons, that were released in memory of the 5 men who died in all of this. And we know that there are people mourning them, there's no doubt about that. There are also people not mourning them because they were criminals. 4 out of the 5 of them anyway had criminal convictions, and this video showing these flares being let off, people holding the flares, people dressed in orange and releasing orange balloons. This is showing an array of vehicles revving their engines, honking their horns, as well as orange flares and balloons fill the sky. One woman in her 20s who attended the vigil insisted one of those in the car, who is this man Jacob Matusak, who was 23, was, as she put it, a loving, caring lad, and not some scumbag who should just be written off and forgotten. Mike?
Well, the whole thing, it's like the perversion of society, isn't it, really, that people are celebrating the lives of these characters. If you look at the 2 officers who were killed, I feel myself in them. One of them, of course, was an army veteran like I was, and then you have these four of the 5 here are involved in all sorts of criminality. It's sad that young men have died. It's always sad when young men die, but it's just the ridiculousness that people just cannot step aside and think it's time to just reflect on this, and they're firing flares up. How much angst are they causing to the families of those police officers? Yeah. You think sometimes people would step back and think, all right, we'll say a prayer, we'll feel sorry for these young men who died. Because when young men, we've all done something stupid in our lives, I suppose. But their stupid activities have caused the death of 2 dedicated police officers. And you think that people would have the sense to step away and think, I'll say a silent prayer, but by launching flares, by all this celebration, all they bring is they just tell us that they're bad people.
Mike, am I being too cynical when I say, you know, maybe this traveller site has been raided, all these arrests have been made, there's some serious action that has been undertaken here. Am I being too cynical to say, why on earth has it taken this particular incident and the very sad, tragic deaths of 2 police officers to get this work done? Because there are many people who know these people exist in society, who know these criminals, alleged criminals in this case, are there, know there are people that should be lifted by the police and the police should do so much more about, but it doesn't happen until something big and dramatic happens and horrible happens, and suddenly then the police leap into action.
You're not being cynical at all. It's too... Obviously, dealing with some of these traveller sites is hard work because you're not raiding one caravan. If you raid one, all the 10 group up on you. I was in Northern Ireland as a soldier. Even the IRA had difficulty dealing with the traveller community. And it's... The police, it's like, sometimes it's easier to take the easy option, isn't it? Let them be, let them alone. And it's, as you say, it's not until somebody dies that they think, I've got to deal with this. But there is a real issue here. And what you get all the time is, oh, you're being racist, you pick on the travellers and all. But there's too much crime connected to the traveller community. It needs to be dealt with. Falling back on, oh, you're picking on our community. No, stop committing crime and the police will stop picking on you.
Yeah, it's very interesting as well that there's been another one of another crash. A man has died and a woman has been left critically injured in a crash after a pursuit involving a police car. This is Warwickshire Police talking about a black Audi on Birmingham Road near Stratford at about 5:20 on Monday. Again, the police said the driver understood to have collided with another car. These aren't linked in any way, but there were, I mean, clearly people using cars either as weapons or cars getting out of control or cars driving the wrong way down roads, especially very, very dangerous roads. This happens a lot. Now, sometimes it's to do with people who shouldn't be on the roads because of mental health issues or dementia or whatever. I get that, that's not ill intent, but there is ill intent in many cases.
Yeah, there is. And if you look at, away from this Warwickshire, look at the M9 in Ireland, the motorway that goes from Ulster down to
just about a week ago,
Dublin. And you had 5 men there driving the wrong way. And I think that social media is, you know, these young men see this, they're distributing videos of themselves, driving the wrong way.
Glorifying it as well.
Goading the police.
What do you think that the government, both in Ireland and here as well, should do to try to get social media companies to clamp down on this? Because anybody can really put almost anything on social media, and if you're part of one of these groups, as they were in Ireland, apparently the Lucky Dip group, this gang, and they were essentially goading the police, goading motorists and saying, look at me, I'm driving really fast the wrong way down a motorway, aren't I really cool? I mean, how do you deal with that both societally and when it comes to social media companies, Mike?
Well, I think you've got to look at how do we deal with the newspapers. If the Sun newspaper put, glorified people doing wicked things, the Sun newspaper would be punished. And I think somehow we've got to look at how do we deal with social media companies like we deal with the press. But also the police have got to make more use of these videos that are put out. So with these videos, you can often see the guy's eyes, you can see what distinctive clothing they're wearing. And I know myself, my expertise is catching criminals with images. These criminals could be identified by those things. So the police have got to use more tactics to identify them. And what we need to see is, one, the social media companies are punished for putting this out, but secondly, the courts are ruthless and put down. We see people put in prison because they've made some silly comment on Facebook. Let's see the right people going to jail. Somebody who drives down the motorway at high speed, goading the police, deserves to go to prison for 20 times longer than somebody puts a daft post on Facebook.
Mike, thank you. That's Mike Neville there, retired Scotland Yard Detective Chief Inspector. What do you think about what he said there? 0344 499 1000. We'll take some calls in just a minute. Thanks to Trev in Middleton. He says, what an eye-opener the documentary of Isabel and Christian was. It showed very desperate people putting their lives in grave danger across the channel. Maybe the French and British collaborate and make a humanitarian intervention force to stop these dinghies at the source in the channel. And Nate in Belfast said, you read out my Dolly Parton message earlier. I've been dancing around like a fool to the hits. Not sure the neighbours know yet. Well, maybe they do. Maybe they're dancing too, Nate. You never know. We'll go to the callers in just a second. 0344 499 1000. Stay with us.
Scariest moment, not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. I'm running down to the beach. I'm trying to get to the water. You're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang. 6 coppers stopped me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. Surely not. They'd never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Herbie's in Suffolk and has given me a ring on 0344 499 1000. Herbie, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Good evening. What I'd like to say is I want to congratulate Isabel Oakeshott and Christian for the marvellous reporting they did. They deserve a People's Medal for bringing home the truth of what is actually going on. We can now understand why things are happening the way they are.
It was really shocking stuff, Herbie, wasn't it? What did you take from it?
Well, to have machine guns and the police don't seem to be doing anything in France worries me quite considerably. To see that they are involved by allowing the criminal gangs to come off their boats and start again is just unbelievable. We're paying all this money, Peter.
Yeah,
now the truth is there. Let's do something. Have you heard from the government? Have you heard from the left?
We have had statements from the Home Office. They're very annoyed, and they say that Christian has taken risks that he shouldn't be taking. I mean, he's illustrated these points, and sometimes for journalism like that, you do need to take risks. But yes, the Home Office has responded, certainly, and let me just see if I can find their thoughts on this. Yes, I've got them here. The Home Secretary said our new UK-France deal is already having a real impact, stopping crossings before they happen and disrupting the criminal gangs behind them. People smugglers should be in no doubt. We're taking down their operations, seizing their equipment and breaking their business model for good. Through our joint work with France, we have stopped over 47,000 small boat crossing attempts since the election. We will not let up. Herbie, you're laughing.
Oh, what a joke that is. Oh, come on, Peter. What are they reading that from? A script that's already been written to shows that they are doing so. They're doing absolutely nothing, Peter. How can there be so many things coming in? You had Peter Harris, who I know very well, on earlier, highlighting that camp where it's like a holiday camp. Those people getting more in that camp than people here that can't even get an appointment to see a doctor or anything else.
Well, this is a very good point. This is a very good point, Herbie, because what Councillor Peter was referencing there, to me, sounds like quite a reasonable way to live, actually. There are a lot of people, a lot of young people, a lot of older people, and people in between, who might feel, actually, that they are missing out, and maybe if they were in one of those centres paid for by taxpayers like you, Herbie, they would have a better standard of living.
Of course they would. Peter, come on. Look, they've got everything they want there. Somebody I spoke to today said they went to the doctors for an appointment. They've got to wait a month. And yet these people who are here illegally are getting seen straight away. Now, where is the sense in that? Why do you think people like me, like you, like the rest of the people are angry about what's going on? Something's got to stop. The rot is starting to really take over.
Let me read you what Charlie Eastaugh, who is the Director of Maritime and Small Boats at the Border Security Command, says. Our partnership with France is stronger than ever. Together we are piling the pressure on the criminal gangs and preventing these illegal and dangerous crossings. French officers are not shy in taking bold action to prevent these launches where it is safe and lawful to do so. They work in difficult and dangerous conditions to stop boats launching, seize equipment and disperse large migrant groups, as well as saving thousands of lives at sea. Our joint efforts are delivering results, and we will go further still to restore control of our borders and put these smugglers out of business.
Oh, another person with blinkers and earmuffs, very big earmuffs on. He's not listening, he's not seeing, he's not doing anything. He's another comedian, as far as I'm concerned, who's telling a pack of lies. Why can't they face the truth? It is a crisis. It is an emergency. Face the facts. You know, you've done a very good job of getting this truthful to the people and the public. I'm sure the response will be astronomical on this one, Peter. It's got to be.
Herbie, it certainly has, and wise words from you. Thank you. Gary is less impressed. He says, exactly what has Christian Drogan revealed with this so-called sensational piece of journalism? Is it the people traffickers are operating along the French coast? Is it that they will get pretty much anybody across the channel if the price is right? Is it that the crossing can be quite dangerous, or is it that the French authorities are pretty much complicit in the whole operation? Well, didn't we know all that already? So what was the point? Gary, that's a very cynical interpretation. I think you need to watch the whole thing and see the many revelations and see what it's actually like. You can talk about these things, in general terms, but to actually see it for someone who've gone through it and to realise exactly what's happening. Anyway, I will read out more of what Gary has said, nonetheless, even though I disagree with him. Gary says, I'll tell you what would be a great piece of journalism, and if it's somebody in the media would stand up at an anti-Burnham press conference and ask him, why hasn't he asked Emmanuel Macron to take back every illegal migrant arriving in the UK from France on the next available ferry? And if he has asked him, then why hasn't Macron agreed to do it? Because that is low risk, low cost, 100% guaranteed successful way of smashing the people traffickers' business model with one stroke of a pen. Nobody is going to pay to get across the channel if they know that they're going straight back on the next ferry, says Gary. Michelle has been in touch and says everyone is allowed to mourn their dead. The parents and friends of those stupid kids are too. Those kids were ignorant, shouldn't have been driving so young in my honest opinion, not intending to kill a police officer. Even if one was looking to cause harm, I would imagine some of them wanted out of that car, says Michelle. That may well have been the case, but why did they get in it in the first place? I totally take your point, Michelle, but I would just challenge you in that final point. Richard in Harrow says hearing my mum play Coat of Many Colours as a kid in the 80s had a really profound effect on me and has stuck with me ever since and will always remind me of her. Not many songs these days have a moral lesson behind them. Well, on Dolly Parton, Sir Elton John has said he is devastated to hear about Dolly Parton's death. She's died at the age of 80. That news was just released about 2 hours ago. In a tribute on social media, he said, shocked and devastated to hear of Dolly's passing, a giant of an artist, unique and irreplaceable, with the kindest heart. Lisa in Nottingham, I think, would agree with those sentiments of Elton John. Lisa, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say?
Thank you, Peter, and I do agree with those sentiments. And tonight, our world has just dimmed a little bit more, and it's never going to be the same. Dolly, you know, we need to remember she was brought up in a one-bedroom cabin, has sold over 100 million records worldwide, and had Dollyville and set up the Dolly Foundation, giving children books to read, one per month until they hit kindergarten. And that was done in the memory of her father, who couldn't read or write. And the things that Dolly did, endless things to help other people, and that we didn't always know about because she didn't go about shouting about. She didn't jump on all the social medias, look at me, I'm doing this, that and the other. And I grew up listening to her music as a child, and I remember getting my mum's LP out and asking her to put it on for me.
What's your favourite song, Lisa?
A Coat of Many Colours, very closely by I Will Always Love You. I don't think there's one song that Dolly's done that we don't like and didn't like. And I remember when Elvis Presley tried to buy one of her songs, and thankfully she never let him have it. And she's just a wonderful, wonderful lady, genuine. And we've lost that, haven't we? Them good old-fashioned morals in today's society, as you've reflected on in some of the other stories that you've been discussing this evening.
Very true, Lisa. Listen, thank you for that lovely tribute there to Dolly Parton. Let's hear a voice note. This is from Elisa in Chelmsford.
I'm trying to get my head around something that the Home Office has said. Apparently, they've accused Christian Drogan of reckless behaviour and also stated that his actions hindered law enforcement's efforts to halt small boat crossings. How? Where is there evidence of that? I just don't get it. In what world has Christian hampered anything? They should be applauding him, and thanking Isabel for what they've done. Outstanding investigative journalism. Brilliant.
Elisa, thank you. Let's go to Mark in Lincolnshire. He's given me a ring on 0344 499 1000. Mark, what's on your mind this evening?
Hi, good evening, Peter.
Hi there.
Hi there. Yeah, I wanted to actually talk about Reform's latest announcement, the social housing thing. Where they posted about that. I'm reading the post that they put out on X. Reform UK believes social housing should not be a reward for welfare. Well, hang on a minute. That's kind of the whole point of social housing, isn't it? That, you know, people that are down on their luck, that they're having to claim benefits or whatever, therefore they possibly can't afford to privately rent. So therefore we have this system where we have...
Although the Reform UK say that they want to make sure that people have it based on things like British nationality rather than people coming from abroad, rather than simply coming with a large family and saying, give me a home. Would you support that?
You know I would, Peter. You know, we shouldn't be putting up people from the third world or any world that just rock up in our country and expect us to give them everything that they need. That's not how moving to a country works under any circumstances. I mean, even if you're an asylum seeker, really, you should be expecting to work at some point and pay your own way. But then again, I don't believe we should have an asylum system anymore.
Not at all.
Not at all. No, we just should not have one anymore. We've got too many people, Peter, at the end of the day.
OK, thanks, Mark. That's Mark in Lincolnshire there. Let me hear another voice note now. This is from Shell about the documentary.
Hi, Peter. I hope you're well. Surely this documentary shows that, yeah, half of the story from France to what they're doing. But it's not focusing on the part from Britain, because, I'm sorry, you'll have to change my mind on this, but I'd kind of bet my house on it that we're just as complicit and this has been done to us. Surely this is kind of going to wake some people up to the fact that we're being betrayed. Surely. I hope so. I'm really fatigued with saying it's all by design. Thank you.
Shell, thanks for your thoughts on that. I think it shows the journey the whole way through, but particularly what the French are up to. I'm sure Christian will have even more to report on as time goes on, because this is a problem that's simply not going away. Your tributes to Dolly Parton, who's died at the age of 80, keep coming in. One of them from Peter, he said, everybody liked Dolly Donut. She was totally inoffensive. No scandal either. May she rest in peace. And we're going to talk a bit more about that as the next hour goes on with some more people who knew her and knew her music very, very well. We'll also talk about this major problem of Muslim gangs forcing white prisoners to convert to Islam, and why Kemi Badenoch is acting to change her shadow cabinet as well. Doesn't matter who these people are. Whatever your thoughts are on all those issues, including the documentary, give me a shout. 0344 499 1000.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, a very good evening. It's just gone 9 o'clock. It's a busy Tuesday evening. Dolly Parton, very sadly, has left us. We'll be talking about that this hour as well. Lots of politics as well. The Tories retracting a claim that Georgia Maloney advised Badenoch against a deal with Reform UK as well. Lots on that. We'll talk too about Muslim gangs forcing white prisoners to convert to Islam. So much to discuss. Lots of people want to get in touch on all sorts of issues. Whatever is on your mind this evening. Plenty of time for calls between now and 10, as there usually is in the 9 o'clock hour. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. You can text me 87222 with the word talk in your text. You can tweet me at talkTV, follow me at Peter Cardwell on Twitter or at Cardwell Peter on Instagram. You can also send me a WhatsApp text message on the main number. You can send me a WhatsApp voice note, as Elisa did a few minutes ago, on the main number, or ring me on the main number, which is, of course, 0344 499 1000. So much to discuss between now and 10. Get your call in, get on the air, let me know your thoughts here on the Evening Exchange on Talk. And just to let you know, I'm here tonight, I'm here tomorrow night, then I'm off for a few nights. Duncan Barks is on Thursday, Charlie Rowley on Friday and Monday, and then from Tuesday the 1st of September, just for 2 weeks, I will be on Drive between 4 and 7, filling in for Kevin. So that's from Tuesday next week, this day next week. I'll be on Drive for 2 weeks, filling in for Kevin. Normal service resumes here on the Evening Exchange between 7 and 10 from the week beginning Monday the 14th. If you perhaps can't remember that, if there's a bit of a data dump for you and you want to get those details again, you can go to my Twitter at Peter Cardwell, and it's maybe the third or fourth one down. You can see all the details there, but short version is here tonight, here tomorrow night, and then I'll see you next week Tuesday for Drive for a couple of weeks, and then back on the Evening Exchange. Right then, landmark documentary today from Isabel Oakeshott and Christian Drogan about what has been happening on the channel, and absolute chaos that has been described by Christian, who came across on a dinghy posing as a migrant. This is what happened.
I managed to get a lift onto the dinghy, and it was just absolute chaos. Chaos.
Yeah, push. Yeah. Ready, both hands, go on. Come on, we got you. Come on. We got you. Yeah, it's okay, don't worry, don't panic. Hand.
You know, there's people almost drowning in the water trying to get to the boat. They've got no idea how to swim. They've got no life jacket. There's people screaming on the boat. There's kids screaming on the boat. I've never seen chaos like it. It was just, you know, I'm sort of on this boat thinking someone's going to get killed there.
The role of the French police has also been properly investigated. This documentary took nearly a year. Let's have a look at what the French police have been up to or not up to.
The police boat took control of our boat. So it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle while they were talking to us. They said, "Don't go ahead, it's dangerous out there, it's very wavy."
The sea is very rough. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police said that to us, you know, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat, we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
So effectively, the police are giving the smugglers a free lift back to shore. There's a bit of a fig leaf going on here. Yeah. Oh, you know, a few people need to get off. Yeah. Nobody who's come all the way from sub-Saharan Africa changes their mind at that point. No. The police are taking them back to the French beaches where they're free to repeat the whole exercise. And the reason this works brilliantly for the smugglers is because they don't have to go all the way to England. What a hassle that is, only to come back again.
Yes. Nobody's recorded what I recorded. Smugglers getting onto the gendarme boat and being taken back to shore.
That is scandalous.
And let's see a little bit more about what the French police have been up to.
The gendarme boat appeared.
Relax.
The police boat took control of our boat. So it put its bow on our bow, and it turned us round in a circle while they were talking to us. They said, "Don't go ahead, it's dangerous out there, it's very wavy."
The sea is very rough. Here it's quiet. When you go wider, it's really dangerous. The sea is very rough. Okay, the best way today is to go back.
So the police had said that to us, you know, if anybody else wants to get off, get on our boat and we'll take you back. 4 smugglers, get on the gendarme boat, check for weapons, all okay, sit on the back, we'll take you back. The police, the gendarme, took the smugglers back to the shore.
Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, has been reacting to this. He spoke to Jeremy this morning.
You can see from all of this that really the only people that can even make it onto the boats are young, fit males, just given the whole procedure that they have to go through.
It always takes me back to Darren Jones, the then Secretary of State to the Prime Minister, who looked square down a camera on Newsnight and said, I don't know, 8 months ago, what you're wrong with, he was talking, I think, to Zia Yusuf, 90% of those that come across are women and children. That's fundamentally wrong, not it?
Yeah, that's wrong. We also had, particularly the Greens, saying lots of brain surgeons were coming. I mean, you know.
None of them joining the Green Party, I'd like to point out.
These are aggressive, dangerous young males, and there's no other way of putting it. There are some who say, well, could some of them turn into a force within this country, perhaps even an army within this country that's against us at some point in the future? I don't think we're there yet, but the risk remains. What I am certain of, and what I've been saying for a long, long time, and I kept asking Keir Starmer and Shabama Mahmood this in the House of Commons, and it's really summed up here by the journalist Christian Drogan, where he says at the end of the article, this is a national security emergency.
And as well as that documentary, which you can watch the whole thing on online, the other big story this evening is about the sad death of Dolly Parton at 80. We'll be reflecting on that a little bit later on in the programme. But I want to talk now about a very concerning piece of research by Nick Timothy, who is the Shadow Justice Secretary, about Muslim gangs forcing white prisoners to convert to Islam. This is something that's happening in prisons. Often what happens is that people go in who are not radicalised, who are not jihadis, and then the Muslim gangs either convert them to Islam to get them on side and to say, we'll protect you if you do this, or indeed to radicalise them for terrorism outside. And some of the statistics are really jaw-dropping. 1 in 5 Muslims in prison in England and Wales is white, nearly 4 times the rate of 5.8% in the general population. The number of Muslim prisoners in jails in England and Wales has also increased, accounts for nearly 1 in 5 of the prison population, despite making up 6.5% of the general population. Well, Dr. Rakib Hassan, social policy analyst, has done some work on all of this. Rakib, what do you make of these statistics, and tell us, in your view, what is happening in prisons?
Well, I think that for some time across the prison estate, Peter, we've had serious problems with Islamist radicalisation. As you know, our prison estate is overstretched, poorly regulated, and I think in some cases it has been reported that entire wings have fallen essentially under control of self-styled emirs who have been responsible for this Islamist radicalisation. And I think that what we're talking about a system of forced conversions in many cases, where, for example, people will say that we'll provide you with protection if you were to convert to Islam. That there's also been reports of these kind of slogans such as "convert or get hurt," and I think that the UK government's anti-terror chief, Jonathan Hall, he's referred to this problem for some time. So I think what we're seeing here is that the stats widely differ compared to the general population, as you mentioned there. I've done research previously which shows that when you look at the British Muslim population, around 1 in 20 Muslims are of white British ethnicity, while in the prison estate, according to this research, 1 in 5 Muslims across the prison estate are white British. So there's a huge disparity there. What is your sense about how much of it is simply control and people who believe that people should be converted to Islam, versus people being recruited for nefarious purposes, who might have gone in
for offences related to what some people used to call ordinary decent criminality, and then they're being brought into terrorism. Because we saw that, for example, in Streatham. Something I worked on as a special advisor in the Ministry of Justice was when that knifeman came out of Belmarsh. He had gone in as an ordinary decent criminal. I mean, wasn't decent at all, but had been radicalised in prison. So radicalisation in prison by Islamist groups is a big issue. That's clearly related to conversion to Islam, but not all the conversion leads to Islamism, does it?
No, of course. And I think that there will be some cases where the conversions may not necessarily be forced. I think the truth is that many people who enter the prison estate after committing crimes are quite often young men who clearly just don't have any sense of belonging or any sense of purpose. But I think the question is there that you would describe those young men quite as vulnerable and lonely. So you could argue that they are ripe for conversion. So I think the concern is the degree of coercion involved in conversions in the prison estate. And I think that crucially what it also shows is that how poorly regulated this kind of behaviour is across the prison estate, in our prison system. And I think that, as we've seen for some time, we have overcrowded prisons, a largely demoralised prison probation service. And I think, unfortunately, this is the end result, that we now have this growing extremism threat within our prison system. And I think the worry is there is that you have people who go in there who might be totally non-religious, irreligious, but then because of this ongoing situation with our prison estate, they may be radicalised in the prison system, and once they're released, they are ultimately hardened ideologues. And I think the risk there is that could they potentially add to the existing terror threat in wider society? I think that's a big problem.
What do you make of what the Ministry of Justice has said in reaction to this story? A Ministry of Justice spokesman said, "We do not tolerate intimidation, gang activity or faith-based coercion of any kind in our prisons. Prison and staff act swiftly to clamp down on all threatening behaviour from any groups or individuals."
Well, I think that that's just ultimately that's a kind of statement that you would expect to be made. But I think that there's various authorities in the field, respected authorities in the field, but who clearly raised the alarm on this particular issue. And I think that the real issue here is that if you have growing levels of Islamist radicalisation within the prison system, the risk is that we have now systems, we have schemes of early release, we have these ideas ultimately of people being rehabilitated in prison. But I think the risk here is that many people are entering prison potentially on petty crimes, but the risk is if they're vulnerable, lonely, they are ultimately ripe for coercion and various forms of intimidation, but ultimately radicalisation. They might be promised this sense of belonging through various pathways of religious radicalisation, and once they're released, they could potentially pose a threat to the wider public.
Rakib, thank you as always. Dr. Rakib Hassan there, social policy analyst. Appreciate you joining us on the programme this evening. Quite a number of people getting in touch on all sorts of issues as well. Christian Drogan has exposed the Home Office for what it is, says Sue, a waste of taxpayers' money. It is treacherous. Robin says, regarding the migrant holiday camp described on your show, that was the councillor from Essex who spoke to us earlier on, 800 men there living very well indeed and most likely using their free phones to send videos and messages of their accommodation and their lives. This will encourage many, many more. They must be able to repel and reject the migrant invaders before reaching UK land. Also, the government must stop the pull factor. These criminals must be treated like criminals. The government must now arrest and detain and secure basic accommodation these migrants breaking into our country. David in the Cotswolds says, great journalism by Christian, pathetic response by the Home Office. When will they realise journalism like this is made? Because the British people have had enough of this free-for-all invasion and the ruination of this country. The establishment continue to rub the British people's nose in the dirt. It will come back to bite them, says David in the Cotswolds. Pamela's been in touch and says, after watching Isabel and Christian's amazing documentary, it's clear it's not only the French police who are complicit, but also the transport network, trains, buses, coaches who allow these immigrants to board transport without even paying, knowing perfectly well where the desired destination is. It's disgraceful. No one is listening. This is a national emergency. David in Worcestershire says, Mark in Lincolnshire, for goodness sake, the news today is that Christian and Isabel have exposed the Channel scandal. Our government and the French are complicit in allowing this to happen. It's a disgrace. Michelle says, I just remember getting into a few friends' cars as a youngster. This is Michelle mentioned earlier on, saying, look, there were probably people in those cars who didn't want to be there, and I sort of challenged the final point. She says, fair point, Peter. I just remember getting into a few friends' cars as a youngster and getting out before they decided to go any distance. I was a boring kid. Peer pressure can influence a lot of youngsters, though well-meaning kids can get drawn in. I hope it all comes out. It's a devastating, irresponsible loss of life either way, says Michelle. Michelle, I appreciate that. I appreciate the spirit in which you sent that message as well, and it is absolutely in the spirit of this programme, which is in which we disagree without being disagreeable, and I thank you for that. Another person says, what do you think those smugglers are chatting to the police about on their way back to France? To be a fly on the wind for that one. David has been back in touch. David in the Cotswolds says, sorry for the second message. David, never apologise for sending another message in. It's absolutely fine. You can send as many messages as you like. We can't guarantee to read them all, obviously, but David says the second message says, Dolly's best quote was, I've had more guts than I've had talent. Such an inspirational quote from a classy, hard-working, talented woman with tons of guts, says David in the Cotswolds. And we will be talking about her, Dolly Parton, who's died at the age of 80, with someone who knew her in just a second. We'll be joined by Lee Williams, who's the Managing Director of Country Music Radio in where else? Nashville. Stay with us here on Talk.
Scariest moment, not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. I'm running down to the beach. I'm trying to get to the water. You're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang. 6 coppers stopped me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. Surely not. They never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
It was about 7 o'clock this evening that the very sad news of the death of Dolly Parton was announced. Her nephew, Brian Seaver, did a video that was posted on social media. Here it is.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian Seaver, son of Cassie Parton, and I'm representing the Parton and Owens family today, announcing the passing of my Aunt Dolly Rebecca Parton Dean, sister, sis, Aunt Granny to one generation and Gigi to the next. This video announcement is something Dolly asked of me years ago, before I fully absorbed it as a future reality. As her head of security for more than 2 decades, a role my father Larry held before me, I have imagined the heaviness of this moment, but haven't truly felt it until now. It is an honor that is mixed with absolute pride and great sadness. But sadness lies with us, not with Dolly. Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens. I first went on the road with Dolly as a kid, getting a taste of the road life in the early 1980s. Dolly opened doors not just for me, but for her entire family to reach the potential we didn't even know was possible. Dolly also opened doors for generations of singers, songwriters, musicians, and dreamers from every walk of life and across every continent. By her example, we believed that anything was possible. She never saw a door she couldn't open, and the doors she opened made and changed history. My family and I have shared a lifetime of beautiful memories with Dolly, but so have you. She has always been on your television, your record player, your CD, and on your phone playlist, becoming an extended part of your family, whether you liked it or not. Our family and the team she has entrusted with her legacy will work diligently to ensure her spirit will live with us forever. Dolly was a farmer, just like her daddy. He farmed the soil, she farmed songs and happiness. Dolly called me and said she wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest. Rest in peace, Aunt Dolly, Aunt Granny, Gigi. May God bless Dolly Parton, and may God bless you all. She will always love you.
Brian Seaver there paying tribute to Dolly Parton, her nephew there, Brian. And on her Instagram tonight, at Dolly's request, a small private service will be held for immediate family. Dolly's friends and fans from around the world are encouraged to pay tribute to Dolly on social media. No less than the President of the United States has paid tribute to Dolly Parton. Very sad to report that Dolly Parton, one of the greatest country singers and far beyond ever, has just passed away, said Donald Trump earlier on Truth Social. This is a true loss for millions of people. There has never been anyone like her and never will. In her honour, I am lowering the American flag throughout the United States for 1 week period, beginning tonight. Rest in peace, Dolly. The world loves you. President Donald J. Trump. Well, Lee Williams is Managing Director of Country Music Radio in Nashville. He's also Director of the British Country Music Association. I know, Lee, you've met Dolly Parton a number of times. In fact, we have, I think, a picture of the two of you together that we'll put up on the screen in just a second. I'm very sorry that you've lost your friend. What an icon she was.
She was wonderful. I mean, she's probably one of the only artists in the world that virtually everybody knows her name. You know, she's just known by everybody, and it's going to be a big loss. I think there's going to be very, very sad people tonight.
What was she like in person? Because people like Dolly Parton, especially people who really connect in the way she did, people think they know her, but you met her on a number of occasions. What was she like in person?
Well, the first time I met her was about 1970, and she was appearing at the Wembley Festival when they used to have regular country festivals at Wembley, every East Wembley Stadium, and it was always cold around Easter time in the UK. And I remember standing on the side because I was one of the press people, and she sort of come up to close to me, and she said, "It's so cold, Lee. Can you cuddle me and keep me warm?" I mean,
I'm sure there'd be quite a few people who would like that invitation.
Oh my goodness! I was in shock, but yes, I carried the deed.
You took one for the team. My goodness.
There you go.
And the association continued. You met her on a number of different occasions too.
Yeah, I've met her 3 or 4 times, and the last time, the picture that you saw, we took over an award from the British Country Music Association for her PR guy who won the PR award for the year. So you can see the award in her hand, and it was a real pleasure. She was doing a press conference for a big TV thing she was doing with Sugarland. So it was she's just a lovely person.
What was it about Dolly Parton and the music, the persona, how she connected with people? What made her different from other music artists, not just country music artists, but many others in general?
Well, I think she from the start, she wanted to dress outrageous, she wanted to look outrageous, and she wanted to stand out. And I think people respected that. And also because she wasn't trying to hide any fact that, you know, the way she looked, and people just liked her music. Her songs were wonderful. They were story songs that most people could relate to, you know, regardless if you're poor, rich, or whatever. So I think that's the reason. And also she went through boundaries of different musics. I mean, I've seen her many times, and she's a great rock act as well as a pop act.
What was a Dolly performance like to witness?
It was just non-stop entertainment. I mean, she always would get dressed in 2 or 3 different outfits, and she'd play the instruments, she'd sing the songs, and and she wrote them all. I mean, she's written over 3,000 songs. So I mean, it's incredible.
Absolutely. She was someone who really connected with her fans in many, many ways. And actually, there's a lovely clip we're going to show you just a little bit of in a second, which was a young man, a 12-year-old boy who has Down syndrome, who loved her music. Her family got in touch with Dolly Parton. And let's just see a little bit of them meeting Dolly Parton, meeting the young man, and indeed singing with him. I think this is a really good illustration. It's from 2015 of the kind of person Dolly Parton was. I'll get your reaction to it in a second, Lee. Let's just have a look at this.
Wow, that's a good name. Gage, is it? Gage? Gage. Gage. I love that name. Gage Rogers. I hear you like Kenny Rogers. Is that true? Do you like singing? I like singing. What do you know? Eyes in the stream. That is what we are. No one in between. Sing with him. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other.
Well, that was just lovely. That was March 2015. 12-year-old fan Gage Blackwell meeting Dolly Parton at Dollywood, the theme park in Tennessee. He posted a video sharing his dream to meet the country music icon. A friend helped connect his mother with Dolly's team, and they sang, of course, Islands in the Stream. They also sang 9 to 5 with Gage. She joked that Gage reminded her of Kenny Rogers because he kept up so well. That was the kind of thing she did all the time, wasn't it?
Well, that's right, and she loved children. She never had any of her own, but she had the imagination library thing that she put together, and she had given out over 200 million books to children all over the world. I mean, it's just amazing what she would do. I mean, she was so charitable in helping people that have had disasters. She just put her hand in her pocket all the time to help people.
And what was the motivation for that? Do you think it was her Christian background, her humble background?
Well, she was one of 12 children, and they were very poor. And she came to Nashville when she was 16, and then poorness, and that's just what she did. She was a Christian woman, and just helped as many people as she could.
Thank you. Really, really good to speak to you. That's Lee Williams there, the Managing Director of Country Music Radio in Nashville. He's also Director of the British Country Music Association, and really great to talk to him about his memories of Dolly Parton. Let's have one more blast of 9 to 5, I think, to pay tribute to Dolly Parton. What a way to make a living. Teresa says my favourite song of Dolly's is called Little Sparrow. She sings it live, no music, which shows just what a stunning voice she has, a true legend. Dee in Chesterfield said, Dolly was fabulous playing Truvy, the beauty therapist in the film Steel Magnolias. I've heard that she was well below average height, but I didn't notice until I saw her next to giants like Julia Roberts. She played an ordinary lady, working hard and being a good friend. Lots to discuss on all the other issues of the day, but let's just take a moment to reflect on the life of Dolly Parton, who has died aged 80. I Will Always Love You is there on the screen, and her signature, an icon. Lots more to discuss in just a moment.
across the UK. On DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, Paul Jepson, who's Chief Executive and Creative Director of Landmark Theatres, is currently touring with the show Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 the musical, based on the 1980 film of the same name, in which she starred with Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. Paul has said, our thoughts are with Dolly's family, friends and all those around the world who loved and admired her. From all of us at Landmark Theatres and the cast and crew of 9 to 5 the musical, our deepest thanks to you, Dolly, for the music, laughter and joy you brought us all. It has been an honour for all of us to work on the show, originally written and produced by Dolly, whose extraordinary talent, creativity and spirit are woven into every part. The show is currently in Worthing in West Sussex. It's moving to Coventry and Hastings. I would imagine there'll be quite a number of people who will be battering down their door for tickets to that. Thanks to Les as well, who says, a quick comment in regard to the exclusive undercover migrant. Pretty much nail on the head, says Les, as regards to suspicions on the invasion by boats from France. A very brave young man Christian Drogan is. He took the chance to expose this calamity from within. I'm saying this not to stop investigations at all, but I fear for Christian's safety. Well, hopefully he'll be all right, and he will have, of course, taken measures on that side of things as well. It is dangerous, but it's important journalism as well. Carol's been in touch from Liverpool and says, I wouldn't mind waiting a month for a doctor's appointment. You can't get one of my doctors at all. And Alice says, a tragic loss, a beautiful lady, R.I.P. Sweet Dolly. Let's talk politics now, and James Heal is with us. He is Deputy Political Editor of The Spectator. James, great to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you, Peter. Good to see you too.
Were you a Dolly Parton fan?
I was a big Dolly Parton fan, yes. I'm sad to lose her. And I think, she was a musical genius who created, several amazing songs in the space of a few days. Truly, I think, the Shakespeare of country music.
It's a very good point. Can I ask you about perhaps more serious issues? Kemi Badenoch apparently about to reshuffle her shadow cabinet. Who's up, who's down, and does it matter?
I think it does matter, because I think that the Conservatives have been struggling to cut through in terms of the attention economy. And I think that one of their strongest arguments is going to be about multi-generational talent, about having more than just Kemi Badenoch as the leader, about having different rafts within the party. So I do think it matters. The people I'm speaking to within the party tonight, Peter, are telling me that it's going to be quite a minor one, maybe more along the lines of what happened last summer when Ed Argyll, the Shadow Health spokesman, was shuffled out partly because of health issues himself. Rather than a big one. But I do think that it's got some people excited tonight, and it's a way of Kemi Badenoch grabbing Westminster's attention and showing that this Conservative Party is not done yet.
Certainly, and it's interesting that Mel Stride, the Shadow Chancellor, and Priti Patel, the Shadow Foreign Secretary, appear to be a little bit vulnerable. What do you think of their futures?
I think that Priti Patel, it's very difficult because she's so associated with the most unpopular policy of the last government. I think one of the biggest failures, many on the right would say, which is the so-called Boris wave of mass migration, legal migration that came to the country post-pandemic. As for Mel Stride, I don't think he's necessarily done anything wrong, but it just does feel, I think, a little bit like an analog politician in a digital age. And some are wondering whether Claire Coutinho would be a better way to cut through in the current climate.
Yes, of course, she's going on maternity leave. Yeah, poor old Mel Stride, when he ran for leader, the joke was Mel Stride never heard of her. Tell us about this Labour peer accusing Reform UK of building the next road to Auschwitz with their social housing policy. That's caused some consternation.
Yeah, so this is Prem Sakura, who's a Labour peer, wrote on Blue Sky that he said it was building a road to Auschwitz, this policy on social housing. Unbelievable. And I think it does show the difference in social media platforms. No one on Blue Sky seemed to be pointing this out as an issue. Obviously very much dominated by the centre-left commentariat. I picked it up on Twitter, and immediately people were messaging me saying, what on earth is this about? So I think it does show that, some people, when they react to a policy they don't like, immediately reach for the most distasteful and in some ways unhelpful comparison. And I think that if I was in the Labour Whip's office, I'd be having a word with their peer tonight. Yeah,
it's interesting. We did approach the Labour press office for a comment earlier today. They're yet to respond to that. Tell us a little bit about this, the Tories retracting the claim that Georgia Maloney, who Kemi Badenoch has been pictured with today, retracting the claim that Maloney advised Badenoch against a deal with Reform. What's going on here, James?
So this was a rather odd story that appeared this morning by one of the Times' most respected journalists, and it seemed to suggest that Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, had warned Kemi Badenoch off doing a kind of deal with Reform. She was against going into coalition with them. And yet I think there was a huge backlash from people within Reform who thought, hang on a sec, we actually have a fairly good working relationship with her party. And now the quotes about the coalition have been taken off that article. And I think that does reflect perhaps a degree of overbriefing at some stage. And I would make the point that we've already seen a few weeks ago the issue on the Today programme where she had the Crucan Gazette candidate who obviously was extremely controversial. That kind of derailed the Tories' plan to make a big thing out of candidate selection. Now we've had this. There are a few issues in the Conservatives, and at a time when they've got a favourable wind in some senses, Reform has some issues, Andy Burnham hasn't got a huge bounce. It is a shame that these things, these silly, inconsequential in some ways stories are coming back to plague them.
Yes, you're absolutely right, James. Where do you feel that Badenoch's leadership is right now? Obviously, we talked a bit about her changing her team necessarily, but she is more popular than her party in many of those polls. Is that a risk to her or maybe to them more generally?
I think it is. And I wrote a column a few weeks ago talking about the party becoming Kemenized. And I don't think that's entirely a good thing in the sense that if it is just based around the leader, what happens if the leader were, for instance, to lose a seat at an election, as she may well do? What happens in terms of that succession plan? And what happens as well at sharing the burdens of the party? So I think that she's clearly done quite well, but she needs to build other people up. And I think that her own performance has to be matched against that of the party as well. And I think, unfortunately, the party is still down in the polls from 2 years ago, is poorer in some senses, lots of associations struggling, and party membership seems to be down as well. So I think that overall she's done well, but there is still a long, long way to go for any kind of recovery.
Andy Burnham has been on his grand tour. He's been in Ukraine. What impact do you think that has had as a trip, especially when he is not particularly well known for his foreign policy views or indeed experience?
I think it was a necessary trip. I think that it was quite interesting, wasn't it? It took Keir Starmer 4 days for his first trip abroad. It took Andy Burnham 4 weeks. And I think that a golden rule of this government is going to be do the opposite of what Keir Starmer did. So Keir Starmer was always talked about as being never hear Keir. I think he spent a sixth of his premiership away. Andy Burnham very much wants to be the domestic prime minister for the foreseeable. But I was quite struck by the comments he gave to Bloomberg, where he talked about the experience. He said he wasn't disinterested in foreign affairs. And I think we can probably expect, beginning with the United Nations General Assembly next month, to see foreign affairs coming back on the agenda, not least, of course, because of the problems caused by the Strait of Hormuz.
Indeed, and he'll be in New York for that. James, thank you. How's the book going?
Getting there. Still a long way to go.
keep at it. James is writing a book on Reform UK. James Heal there, the Deputy Political Editor of The Spectator. Carol's been in touch from Liverpool and says this holiday camp that migrants are bussed into daily, what about taking pensioners there instead? They could be warm, get a hot meal without worrying about the cost. I read a couple of days ago about the pensioner who made a flask of tea and rode the buses all day to save money. Well, certainly that is something we hear more and more because pensioners can get free travel on buses and we know that they can be warm. It is just a horrendous way that some people feel they have to spend their time because they just don't have the money that is needed to heat their homes. Lots more people in touch. Ernie says, a mate of mine went to prison a few years ago. He was approached and asked to convert to Islam for protection, but he said it's protection from them. If you don't, they bully you and make your time a misery. He said most new inmates go along with it for safety reasons, but most forget all about it when they are released. Melanie in Suffolk, I'll come to that in a second. This person says, please don't read out my name due to the nature of the info I'm about to provide, and I'm very happy to respect your anonymity on that. Evening, Peter. I was in York today flat hunting with my girlfriend for university. In the city centre, there was a stall for the Revolutionary Communist Party. I approached the stand. They had copies of the Communist Manifesto, as well as other communist literature, and signs including Defund Ukraine, Zelensky is a Nazi, and F the Zios from the river to the sea, and were spreading conspiracy theories, including that Israel was responsible for 9/11. When I challenged them on their overt racism and anti-Semitism, they proceeded to call me a Nazi, along with language that cannot be repeated on air. I'm not normally one for reporting political activism, but on this occasion I contacted the police as their narrative was dangerous. Well, thank you to that person who has done that, and of course we will respect your anonymity on that. Very concerning that that has happened. Gary says, what was your earlier retired police officer guest talking about when he said the people in that car that crashed into the house, those two police officers, were just young men who did something stupid? 4 of them, 2 aged 17, 1 aged 18, the other 23, reportedly had 37 previous convictions between them. As convictions, just imagine how many crime serial offenders like them had committed but didn't get arrested and convicted for. Crime for them was clearly a daily way of life. They paid for that with their lives. The only tragedy here is that they took 2 police officers with them. Melanie in Suffolk says, I'm devastated to hear the news that Dolly Parton has left us. I believe her best quote was when asked about her tiny size 3 feet. She says, nothing grows in the shade, honey. Brilliant, says Melanie from Suffolk. Very interesting one there. Very good. And Lou says, Dolly Parton, a legend, a true legend, so good with charities. Her influence will live on. And Humberboy101 on Twitter says, such sad news. Dolly was a true icon, down to earth, despite her wealth and fame. Funny, kind, beautiful inside and out. R.I.P. Dolly, you'll be missed terribly. And this was her nephew a little bit earlier on this evening, Brian Seaver, announcing the death of his Aunt Dolly Parton.
Hey everyone, my name is Brian Seaver, son of Cassie Parton, and I'm representing the Parton and Owens family today, announcing the passing of my Aunt Dolly Rebecca Parton Dean, sister, sis, Aunt Granny to one generation and Gigi to the next. This video announcement is something Dolly asked of me years ago, before I fully absorbed it as a future reality. As her head of security for more than 2 decades, a role my father Larry held before me, I have imagined the heaviness of this moment, but haven't truly felt it until now. It is an honor that is mixed with absolute pride and great sadness. But sadness lies with us, not with Dolly. Dolly has lived in the light and is in the arms of Jesus, surely met by Carl, her parents, and countless others who have watched her and longed for her to meet them in the heavens. I first went on the road with Dolly as a kid, getting a taste of the road life in the early 1980s. Dolly opened doors not just for me, but for her entire family to reach the potential we didn't even know was possible. Dolly also opened doors for generations of singers, songwriters, musicians, and dreamers from every walk of life and across every continent. By her example, we believed that anything was possible. She never saw a door she couldn't open, and the doors she opened made and changed history. My family and I have shared a lifetime of beautiful memories with Dolly, but so have you. She has always been on your television, your record player, your CD, and on your phone playlist, becoming an extended part of your family, whether you liked it or not. Our family and the team she has entrusted with her legacy will work diligently to ensure her spirit will live with us forever. Dolly was a farmer, just like her daddy. He farmed the soil, she farmed songs and happiness. Dolly called me and said she wants to rest in a beautiful bed of plush cotton because after a life wearing heavy rhinestones, she finally deserves to be comfortable and have some rest. Rest in peace, Aunt Dolly, Aunt Granny, Gigi. May God bless Dolly Parton, and may God bless you all. She will always love you.
Brian Seaver there, who is Dolly Parton's nephew, paying tribute to his aunt this evening, and we know that the family have said that there'll be a small service that the family members will attend, but her wider fan base and friends are urged to go on social media to pay tribute to her. You can also pay tribute on this station if you want to. If you want to give me a ring on Dolly Parton before 10 o'clock, feel free to do so. The number is 0344 499 1000. We'll talk about the police dealing with riots in France. We'll talk about this landmark documentary that has been done by Christian Drogan and Isabel Oakeshott as well. We'll maybe show you a little bit more of that as well before 10 o'clock. We'll have a chat with Petri as well. Petri Hoskin is coming up at 10 o'clock just after the news, right through till 1 o'clock. So stay with us here on Talk.
scariest moment? Not that I want to admit it, but where was it? Was it in the middle of the night when somebody was by your tent? What was it that you thought, my God, I'm in trouble here?
To be honest, it was the moment where I'd been stopped. You know, I'm running down to the beach. I'm trying to get to the water. You know, you're so tired, and I get down to the bottom of the dunes. Next thing you know, bang. 6 coppers stopped me and this other lad, and I'm thinking, surely not. You know, surely not. They'd never stop any of the migrants. How all of a sudden have I run down to the beach and the 6 coppers there?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, thank you to everybody who's contributed to the programme this evening. We'll get to more of your messages in a second, but I want to go to the phones because Keith in Huddersfield has given me a ring on 0344 499 1000. Keith, you're very welcome to the programme. What would you like to say this evening?
Good evening, Peter. It's regarding what's been going on in France. What really baffles me about this is you look at the French police in Paris, how they attack the people what are burning cars, things like that. They round them all up. They don't mess about with them. Yet they can't round them up in a little village on shore.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can only put it down to one thing: Labour Party at the moment and France at the moment, Brexit. It's all going towards that.
Do you think they're bitter about it?
I think they're very bitter about it, the French. They've never forgiven us for it. And that's my... Well, how can I put it? That's what I believe.
Yeah.
All this is going... It started with Brexit, and they will not...
So what should the French do then, Keith?
Just look what they do in Paris. It's there for you, Peter. We can all see it on news. They don't mess about. They go in, they batter them, they do everything. They're not easy, aren't they, French police, when they get going? You can't tell me that them people in them little villages, they couldn't deal with them. They could.
Yeah, that's some very, very good points.
But they won't do it. And I think it's down to Brexit.
Okay.
Anyway, that's all I'm going to say on
Okay, well,
Peter.
Keith, listen, thanks for your thoughts there. I appreciate you giving me a ring this evening. Jane Fonda has reacted to Dolly Parton and says she's devastated following the death of her 9 to 5 co-star Dolly Parton, adding Dolly will always be with us because she was so present, so powerful, so generous and playful that she is woven into all our lives and hearts forever. That is Jane Fonda, who was in 9 to 5 in that film. Zarina says, what a tribute from Dolly's nephew, Peter, really special. And just on doctor's appointments as well, Ernie has been in touch and says, my sister was on the phone when I called to see her and I said, who are you phoning? She said, the doctor. I'm booking an appointment. I said, are you okay? She said, yes, I'm fine. It just takes 5 weeks to get an appointment and there might be something wrong with me then. If not, I'll cancel and book another, says Ernie. Well, the big story tonight, of course, has been about Dolly Parton. We have been talking about her kindness, about what she did for people, especially for people who were more vulnerable and less advantaged than she became. Of course, she came from very, very humble beginnings. And one thing that really touched me, it was the first thing I thought of when I heard her die, the fact that she died, was her interaction with a young man called Gage Blackwell. He was 12 years old. This was in 2015. He'll now be, what, 23, and he met Dolly Parton at her Dollywood theme park in Tennessee. Dollywood was, and I'm sure will remain, a very, very popular tourist attraction. Gage posted a video sharing his dream to meet the country music icon. A friend helped connect his mother with Dolly's team. And if you just look at this video, you'll see her, the sound quality is not fantastic, but you'll hear her singing Islands in the Stream. She also sang a bit of 9 to 5 with him as well. She joked, you'll hear her joke in a second, about Gage reminding her of Kenny Rogers because he kept up so well. Let's hear just a little bit of this really touching video, which I think shows us so much about Dolly Parton and the person that she was.
Wow, that's a good name. Gage, is it? Gage? Gage. Gage. I love that name. Gage Rogers. I hear you like Kenny Rogers, is that true? Do you like singing? I like singing. What do you know? I was in the stream. That is what we are. No one in between. Sing with her. How can we be wrong? Sail away with me to another world, and we rely on each other. Ha ha. From one lover to another. Ha ha. Oh, good deal. That's better than Kenny. That's better than Kenny. Yeah, that was Tammy Wynette. Remember her? Yeah, Tammy was a good friend of mine, and Loretta's a good friend of mine. And we used to sing together a lot. You like to listen to this one? I do. I like that. Silver threads of golden needles cannot mend this heart. Sing.
Absolutely lovely, and little Gage had an amazing time there. Unforgettable stuff. We've had so many tributes from the President of the United States, from Elton John. Paul McCartney as well said it is difficult to take the news in of Dolly Parton's death, knowing her as a woman who was so full of life. He said the magnificent star Dolly Parton has died, and it is so sad. She was such a wonderful woman. He went on to tell how he first met Parton at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. She had been playing with her country star, with the country star Porter Wagoner, and was about to start her solo career. She was so bubbly and full of life, it is difficult to take in the news that she has passed. Her songwriting, her singing and her philanthropy were unrivaled in the world of country music, and it's hard to imagine living in a world without Dolly. She was a very clever businesswoman who understood the value of her music, and most importantly, the effect that she had on the people of the world. Paul McCartney said there was no greater honour than when she sang Let It Be on her 2023 album Rockstar, and added, even though I only made a small contribution to it, I am so honoured that she did it. He was so proud to have known her and to admire her unique talents, and he said, thank you, Dolly, for the beautiful music you gave me and the whole world. We will always love you. God bless and rest in peace. You were the best. What a day, my goodness. So much, a big news day, lots to digest and all of that. I know, Petri Hoskin, you'll be going through so many stories, but Dolly Parton, my goodness, sad
honestly,
news.
I'm genuinely sad about that, and I'm not genuinely sad about much in the world, but I am genuinely a little bit teary about Dolly Parton.
She was a ray of sunshine, wasn't she?
Not just that, she was just such a... I used to follow her on some social media stuff, because I'm such a fan. And she was just so genuine. I mean, you felt like she was talking to you, and that is such a skill. It's a skill that we attain to have, right? So that one person listening on radio thinks that they are the only person we're talking to. Yep. That is the skill we all aspire to. And she had that. She had that touch where you genuinely felt she was your friend. I'm literally choking up. I'm literally choking up. And she was just so kind and like you said, savvy. I mean, there was one song that Elvis wanted to buy the rights to, and she said no. And then cried all night about it, apparently. But it was the right decision that she made. She started Dollywood, I think, in the 80s. She was a brilliant businesswoman. And she didn't just sit on that money like so many of these people that are so filthy rich. I mean, she was generous. She was kind. Her father was illiterate, which is why she set up Imagination Library.
And there are kids who can read
because of her. Millions and millions and millions of books that she's given out to people. She donated money in the COVID crisis towards a vaccine. I mean, she is just one of those rare people who genuinely never forgot where she came from. And this is when I part company with religion, because I think there are so many 80-year-olds who are vile, who could have been taken today, who are causing trouble in the world and are nasty and don't give any money to anybody who's poor. And Dolly Parton was taken from us, and I think that's a real tragedy, because she had still so much to give. I just loved her.
And you'll be reflecting on that, I'm sure, in your show.
100%. In fact, I'm just going to talk about that all.
For 3 hours.
For 3 hours. At midnight, I do want to reflect on Dolly Parton, because there'll be lots of people who just want to say that. I'm blessed that I can actually speak
how I feel. So I'm hoping that other people will call me at midnight and tell me how they feel about Dolly Parton. We're also going to be checking out why we're so bad at building stuff in this country, talking about the houses that we need to build. The Labour government is so far behind.
Although Crossrail is one of those few things that we did quite well.
Yeah, but I mean, even a stopped clock works twice a day, right? I mean,
I think instead, what we should do instead of paying for HS2 is just move London to the north.
Well, that's what Andy Burnham is wanting to do. It would be cheaper, yeah. But also, I just think that we are just rubbish. We are rubbish at